Oh, I got a little echo here. That's on me. That's on me. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. There we go. You know what's better than fantasy football Wednesday? It's fantasy football Thursday. Yes. Oh man. I'm pretty okay, a little I'm messing up technically. Oh man, oh god, I'm very jacked up. I have an energy drink here. I don't know why I have it because trust me when I say this, I don't need it. Trust me when I say it that I don't need it. Um there's a lot of things to go over. Any and all questions are going to be answered. I'm going to help everybody out on their fantasy football leagues. I'm really, really, really excited about Thursday night football. It's a huge game. We start off the show really strong here. Shane F says, "What's up, Dan? Should I trade Garrett and Brian Robinson for Nico Collins? I have Stroud. I have enough depth at receiver, but my only other running backs are Kamara, Moss, and P. Ryan. I could also trade Moss instead of Brian Robinson. I just want to make sure I have the information correct. You want to get rid of one of your running backs and you want to add Nico Collins. That's what I just want to make sure. The reason why I say that is because in your next comment is you could also trade Moss instead of Brian Robinson. So first thing is you got to drop P. Ryan immediately. Hopefully you understand that. Okay, good. Shane, thanks, man. First thing, hopefully you drop P. Ryan. Hopefully you picked up Kareem Hunt. The Chiefs running back situation's murky right now. So I think Kareem Hunt will end up being the main guy, but CEH comes back after the Chargers game. He's not injured. He's on a it's kind of an unusual situation. He's having I hate to use the word mental issues, but it's a mental thing, not a physical thing. So you need to drop P. Ryan. You could pick up either CEH after this week. You could pick up Kareem Hunt if you want to, but drop P. Ryan. Full disclosure, Nico Collins is one of my favorite players. I absolutely loved him coming out of the draft. I was really, really, really wanting my Chiefs to grab him. That was a dude that I just wanted. I have a thing for long, big receivers, and I also knew that it would take him a little bit of time to develop. I mean, he came out of Michigan, where more of a run-based offense. Remember, he came out that COVID year. He actually didn't play, and then just had a phenomenal pro day. Really, really, I knew he was going to take a year or two to develop, and he's there. Okay. There's a lot of situations, Shane, where I would make this move. Your situation, I would not make it. If you are going to do this trade, is there a way you can hold off? And the reason why I say that is I like Brian Robinson this week. Okay, you have Austin Eckler who's out. Washington's playing against Arizona. Okay, what are you hearing about Washington right now? Jaden Daniels this, Jaden Daniels that, Jaden Daniels this. Right? If you're the Arizona Cardinals, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to do everything you can to prevent Jaden Daniels from winning that ball game. And by the way, this is a huge game for both teams. But I think Arizona at 1-2, Seattle's undefeated, and you're at home. I think that they're really going to go out of their way to make sure that Jaden Daniels doesn't beat them. So what do you do to counter? Well, you run the ball. And I really think that Brian Robinson could have a huge game. Remember, Eckler is out. Eckler is out. So I like Brian Robinson this week. You're gonna talk to, if you talk to 10 different people, you'll hear 10 different people. You'll probably hear 5 people say that they're pro Moss like I am. 5 people say that they're pro Chase Brown. Chase Brown's more of a big play guy. Moss a bigger, more physical dude. I like Moss more, and I think he's going to get more and more touches. Some people think Chase Brown, the home run speed's going to get more options. Because you have P. Ryan on your roster, you don't want to get rid of running backs at this time. I know why you want to do this, especially if you have C.J. Stroud. Nico Collins is going to have a lot more production than Garrett. The one thing I want to tell you is that I do expect right now. I have it pulled up right here. The leading receiver on the Jets right now is actually Breece Hall, not Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, the first 3 weeks, 15 receptions, 150 yards, and a touchdown, has been wildly disappointing. The issue is, though, Garrett Wilson is a dude who's gonna, when everything's said and done, he's gonna go over 1,000 yards this year. Okay, he's not going to get you a lot of touchdowns. He has, in his NFL career, he has a total of 8. All right, but I do think that will go up this year. Like he had 4 as a rookie, 3 last year. When everything's said and done, I'm thinking it'll be, anywhere between 5 and 9 touchdowns. But you will get over 1,000 yards. Okay, you got a guy that's not a bad receiver in Garrett, and the quarterback position is so much better in New York. But keep in mind, they are throwing to the running backs. I understand the logic behind this. Your situation, I would not recommend it, because you have Kamara, solid dude. You also have a couple guys in Moss and in Robinson that I like. They're 3 down backs. If you're in a PPR league, I'm assuming you are. You want to go ahead and hold on to these guys. And thank you so much. I got Patricia Garrett. She says, keep it going in. She is so awesome. You're limited at the running back position. Don't get rid of one. That said, I love Nico Collins. And right now, 18 catches, 338 and a touchdown, leads the NFL in receiving yards. Diggs has 20 receptions. Collins has 18. I fully expect Collins to lead the team in yards and receptions. I was a lot of it has to do with it skewed because of that week 1 performance with Joe Mixon. But one thing I've noticed about the Houston Texans, they're not throwing the ball as much as they did last year. It's a balanced offense. You don't have a passing type of team like, in Kansas City, for example, or even Cincinnati. So I went on a rant here, but I want to give you all the information. I would not blame you if you decided to make this move. I would recommend against it, because if you have P. Ryan, you need to drop him. You have 3 solid running backs. Kamara's your number 1, obviously. I also understand if you have enough depth at receiver, you're getting rid of Garrett. Another person may ask the same trade question, and I may say yes. Your situation with your running backs, Kamara, Moss, Robinson, and P. Ryan, you have one number 1 in Kamara. I think 2 really solid number 2s, but I like the upside of both Brian Robinson and Zach Moss quite a bit. And I also think with Garrett, you're going to start getting a little more production. There's a good chance Garrett's riding your bench, and that's why you're thinking about making this move. If you can get a decent number 4 running back, somebody you can replace P. Ryan, I mean, somebody who's, going to get you some solid touches, you may want to make this. I would advise you not to make this trade this week because I like Brian Robinson against the Cardinals. I think that's going to be a win. Zach Moss against Carolina could have a massive game. And I know the Broncos defense is pretty tough, but you're at home. That said, Nico Collins against Jacksonville could blow up. So if you can get another running back on that roster, make the move. I don't like your since you have P. Ryan, you have 3 guys, 2 solid 2s in a 1. I wouldn't blame you if you decide to pull the trigger on it. In your particular situation, I would not, unless you can get another running back besides P. Ryan. So keep me informed, but for this week, don't make this trade. That would be my advice. Sisu, what's up, brother? Yes. Man, I'm really jacked up. I am really jacked up. I have an energy drink here. I don't know why. I don't need it. Gavin Maygran. And by the way, please forgive me if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. GM. I love the name Gavin. It's super awesome. Rate my 12-man team. Jaden Daniels. We talked about him. But John Robinson, Breece Hall. I love Breece Hall. Amon-Ra. Yes. Rice, yes. Bowers, I like it. Debo, when he comes back, solid. Brian Thomas Jr. is a guy that I really like. They need to figure a way to get him. Bench, Zamir White, Ty Chandler. Not really a fan of either one of those guys. I'm not a fan of Dowdle. I don't know why Dalvin Cook is not getting, as far as I know, he's not even active. You traded, by the way, if you traded for Bijan Robinson and Hall, kudos to you. I'm seeing, I'm looking in here. I don't see Hall on here, but I'm going to assume that you traded him. But, oh yeah, Breece Hall. I'm sorry. You got a couple of my favorite players. Of course, I'm a Chiefs fan. I love Rashid Rice, Amon-Ra. That's just going to win you games. Brian Thomas, there's a ceiling on him that is insanely high, and I like Bowers quite a bit. Jaden Daniels, I mean, great performance so far. I want to see it continue. You could have a home run there. Your bench, White, Chandler, Dowdle, not a fan of those guys, but I love your starters in Bijan and Breece, so I'm not worried about it. The question is, rate your 12-man team. Boy, that's a great question. I'm going to give you a B, maybe a B plus. And I'll say that because Daniels has been playing lights out. I mean, because here's the deal: you got Bijan and Breece in fantasy football. These are both guys that you want to play. Bijan has a tough matchup against Saints defense. Breece Hall, tough matchup against Denver. I think you start them both. Mon-Ra, yes. Rice, yes. Bowers could be a gem. When Debo comes back, that's going to be great. And the thing is, what I really, really like is that Brian Thomas Jr., there's a guy, hopefully he'll come into chat here soon, Perry. He's been saying since March, Brian Thomas Jr. is the best receiver out of this rookie class. And so far, it looks like it's Neighbors, but you got some good rookies here in Bowers, Thomas, and Daniels. All 3 of them are hits. Brian Thomas Jr., by the way, I expect to get more involved in the offense. You're an 0-3 team. When you're 0-3, I think that you have to kind of roll the dice. Well, who's the most physically gifted skill position player on that team. It's Brian Thomas Jr. And by the way, I don't know if you're aware of this. In preseason, there was clips of him. I'm not seeing this from, so Bills fans are showing pictures of Keon Coleman running routes in shorts. So like, this is wide receiver number one. I ignored that. People I respected, other players were showing clips of Brian Thomas Jr. in training camp just destroying their defensive backs. That got me excited. So you have some massive upside. Not a fan of your bench, but I mean, you don't have guys that are terrible. I mean, you know, White, Dowdle. I mean, technically, I'm going to use the word starter, but I mean, you're trying to replace those guys. Ty Chandler's not bad at all. So I'm going to give you a B to a B plus. Really like this team. Really like this team. Got Breece Hall for JSN. Got Breece Hall and JSN for Smith and Stevenson, then got Bijan for ETN and JSN. I'll be honest with you. I am a fan of ETN. I even though Jacksonville's offensive struggles are well known, ETN's been productive. Trading Bijan for ETN and JSN, but the thing is with JSN, on a team where you have Amon-Ra and Rice. There's a situation where I would tell you not to make this trade. Okay. There's a situation where I can tell you not to trade Bijan for ETN and JSN. Your situation, that's a smart move. This when you have Amon-Ra and Rice, JSN, even though he could be a solid 2 flex option for a lot of teams. Also like the fact you have Brian Thomas Jr. has much more upside. I'm not talking player, I'm talking situation. Another thing is that when Kenneth Walker, who I think is going to start, I fully expect JSN touches to go down. So I like that. And then I love that. I feel I'm so embarrassed here. I'm just drawing a blank when you say Smith. I should know. Anyway, Breece Hall, I was just talking to the guy who has Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall leads the Jets in receptions right now. For Smith and Stevenson, I'm drawing a blank on who Smith is. I'm so sorry. I feel so embarrassed. But Breece Hall's a guy I love. So I love your running backs. I love the fact that you gave up a receiver that you're not going to use as much. So I like it. I like it. Keep me informed on how you're doing, if you don't mind, and it'll hit me in a moment who Smith is. I'm just drawing a complete blank, but I love the fact that you get Breece Hall. I like Breece Hall more than Stevenson. I will admit I have a huge man crush on Stevenson, so full disclosure. But I like the fact that you made this nice trade. You get JSN, and then you parlay JSN for Bijan. I like that move. I will let you know I'm a huge ETN fan, especially in fantasy. But in Bijan, you got a guy that I think has a little. He's got more size, a little more upside. I'll be honest with you, Bijan and ETN are both guys I'm very, very high on. Very, very high on both. The thing is with ETN is you kind of, with Brian Thomas Jr., I think he's going to get more involved. So I could make an argument for ETN over Bijan. That's the one thing. But throwing. By the way, the guy who got ETN and JSN, if he needed a receiver, is probably very happy with that. So, but overall, you have a very, very good team. Really like the fact that you hit on rookies. This is smart because you got some legitimate number ones here in Bijan, Breece, Amon-Ra, and Rice. And then you got some nice rookies. And then when Deebo Samuel becomes healthy, you have some options to start him. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to keep getting better. So I like this. Yes. Gaming City Power. Should I trade Garrett Wilson from Elite Neighbors? Yes. If you can do it before tonight. I haven't checked the weather report. I meant to. I meant to check the weather report for Thursday Night Football before I came on, because during the week it was about, I think it was like 60-70% chance of rain. In the NFL, rain doesn't really matter. It's more wind. There is exceptions, like if it's a monsoon rain, yeah. But I mean, if we're talking, you know, just standard rain where the ball's wet, it doesn't have an effect on the NFL. A matter of fact, sometimes when it's wet, you could have better offense. Believe it or not, I've seen it happen. Rain doesn't bother me. High wind. This is an old school. I'm giving you some old school gambling advice. I'm looking at the picture, and if that's you, you're really young, so you should be doing sports betting. That might be a picture of your kid, cute kid, if that's the case. Sorry, I got a little distracted here. If you do sports betting, you know that rain and snow doesn't affect. I won a bet when there was snow in Denver for Patrick Mahomes' first snow game. The over under dropped to 43. I bet on the over. By the way, Kansas City. No, the over under was 42. The Chiefs scored 43. So snow, rain doesn't affect things. So but I did want to check the weather report. I would make this move, and I would start Neighbors tonight. Neighbors is a legit number one absolute start. Garrett Wilson right now is a 2 flex option. I like Garrett Wilson, don't get me wrong, but if you get a chance for Neighbors, I think Neighbors, I think he's going to have a huge game tonight. I really, really do. It would be great. Arizona sleeps in defense, but I wouldn't cry that. And I'd start Daniels over Mahomes. I know you said I should not, but I will take the risk. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I mean, one thing about the Chargers, the defense is playing better. There are some injury issues, plus with the Chargers. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. He's on a 1-game suspension. Derwin James is on a 1-game suspension. That said, somebody commented on my picks video, which if you haven't checked it out, please do. I'm a Chiefs fan. The Chargers, with Herbert being down, the Chargers, last I looked, and I didn't have a chance to do it because I was looking at some other things. I was trying to, kind of get the show ready and everything, but I didn't check on the line of Chiefs Chargers. I was thinking about putting some money on the Chargers. Chargers are a 9-point home dog. Keep in mind, they'll be more red than powder blue out in Chiefs fans call it Arrowhead West. I get it, but I mean, Daniels, the one thing that he's doing is he's running the ball quite a bit. Mahomes is not going to run the ball as much. I would urge Daniels and Washington not to run the kid so much. I mean, he's I don't care where you list him at. He's like 205, 210. I remember watching him at Arizona State. He was listed at 175. There's no way he was over 160. He's a guy that I really would like, if I was the Washington staff, to do what I call the NFL 20, and that's getting in the NFL weight room, put on some size. I'd like to see Daniels put on some size. And look, it's the NFL's tough, and I've seen it looks like early on he's taking some hits he shouldn't be taking. I would probably go with Mahomes, but I don't hate you for that. I'll be honest, with Daniels and Mahomes, if you have both quarterbacks, it's kind of like, what flavor do you like better? Do you like chocolate or you like strawberry better? And there's really no wrong answer. The one thing I will say is that you're getting points with either guy. It's not like you're going to get one guy. And Mahomes, has had kind of a slow start for Mahomes. a banged up Chargers team could be exactly what he needs to kickstart things. Keep in mind, if this ends up being a blowout, which I'm not expecting, the Mahomes numbers will be low. So I think Daniels will have some points. So yeah, I mean, I like what they're doing in Arizona. They're 1-2. They need this game desperately. They desperately need this game, but no, I don't blame you. Sorry for the rant here. I know I got blasted here because I went to, oh wow, I'm already behind on comments. Okay, sorry everybody. Wayndale Robinson, Sutton, Dobbs, Christian Watson, Michael Wilson, Tutu Atwell, all on waiver. Who do I pick? Oh, I would tell you Christian Watson. Sutton's a good one, too. If Love plays, I like Watson a little more. I'm gonna tell you right now, like Sutton's gonna start really getting you some points, man. I really like what I see out of Bo Nix, and I mean this is a pass happy offense that they're running. You're just going to see uptick in Sutton or Watson. I think are really really good options. Thoughts on Ricky Purcell? I don't know his. I don't know when he's coming into the lineup. I liked him coming out of Florida. I just didn't really like the fit in San Francisco, especially if we're planning on keeping Ayuk. I thought when they drafted Purcell, they were definitely going to trade Ayuk, which by the way, I would have done. I would have got more players on that team. A team doesn't have a lot of depth. It's an unknown right now. I actually am not even sure when he's going to be playing. When he does play, I don't know what kind of impact he'll have. I mean, you know, I'll be honest with you. If you have him on your team, I would drop him. I'm not. I kind of think for this year, you're I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, dude got shot. I mean, but it's a weird situation. I wouldn't even play him in 2024. Keep in mind, maybe he'll get in, but I wouldn't use him. Gooch, man, jumping into the show. I tried to get back. Thank you, Gooch. Afternoon delight, boys. Enjoy the show. Love my Gooch is my boy. Matt Shane F. Thanks, man. I appreciate it, brother. I'm here to help, even though I'm behind on comments. Would I trade Dobbins and Pittman for Ayuk? No. Pittman is definitely a guy that you don't want to play right now. Definitely a guy you don't want to play. But Dobbins, even though he has a tough week against Kansas City, Dobbins is a running back number one. Ayuk is still getting involved in the offense. You may hate me because this may be the week that Ayuk blows up, but no, Dobbins is a guy you definitely want to keep. Pittman's a guy you want to. I don't like anybody on the Colts right now that's not Jonathan Taylor. So I get why you want to drop him. Keep Dobbins. You definitely want to keep Dobbins. If you're running back room, like if you got some studs on running back and you desperately need a receiver, maybe, but I there's not too many guys I like more than Dobbins, even though I think it's a tough game for Dobbins against Kansas City with the injury issues the Chargers have. Mooney or Goddard after his big week? Ooh, that's a good one because I'm a little surprised at Goddard. Is getting so many touches. I mean, keep in mind in that offense, tight end, running back are going to get a lot of receptions. I really think Mooney should get more touches in Atlanta. That's a tough one. I would stick with Goddard personally. just because I don't like the way Atlanta's using their offensive personnel, their players. I think Mooney should get more touches, but I don't think they're really using him right. The thing is with Goddard is that when you have an offense with as many big names surrounding him, it's very easy to overlook. Also, like I want to keep my rants to a minimum because I'm already behind, but that defense that they run in Tampa is it's usually good for like running backs and tight ends to get a lot of receptions. I like the matchup with Goddard a little more this week. The Saints defense is really tough, and I don't like the way that they use Mooney in that offense. They need to figure some things out. But I like Goddard just a little more. And I get what you're saying. Like, hey, look, Goddard had that huge week. He's not going to do it again. Probably not getting you 170 yards this week, but I wouldn't at all be surprised if Goddard gets you a little more production than Mooney. I really like Mooney, by the way. I want to emphasize this. I just don't like the way they're using him. So trade Carr for Steele? No. Even if Carr's on your bench, with Kareem Hunt and CEH coming back, Steele, by the way, he may have 50 yards and a touchdown, but I still wouldn't do this. I mean, because 50 yards and a touchdown, that's kind of the ceiling. I mean, Kareem Hunt's going to start taking some touches. I really thought P. Ryan would start would take some touches away from Steele. Turns out to be just the opposite. But you don't want to trade a quarterback who can start for a guy that's going to end up getting less than 5 touches a game going forward. And that's pretty much what you're getting at. Steele's the short yardage guy. They're using him on special teams. But I actually expect Kareem Hunt to get more touches Sunday than Steele, but we'll find out. I wasn't, but since you said it, let's just go to the injury report here. Let's look at Atlanta. I'm using ESPN. Questionable, was limited at practice due to a shoulder injury. I should have known that before I started the show. Didn't know that. I wouldn't. You got to put a guy on the injury report. It's an NFL rule because of guys like us that are worried about fantasy football. I would not worry about it, but definitely something to keep an eye out for. Joe, that's smart because what you want to do, especially if you have John Robinson, you want to keep an eye, especially when he appears on the injury report. You probably got a notification on your phone. I think this is one of those things where they're reporting it. I think it's fine. But definitely keep an eye out. Some other guy said Neighbors was the best rookie wide receiver pre-draft. Volk, what's up, brother? Yes. Yeah, you. I think I answered this one, but you have an option between Sutton and Watson. Either or are good. If Love plays, I would lean towards Watson. That's going forward. Keep in mind, I just drew a blank. I was literally just looking at it like seconds ago. Okay, here it is. Both Sutton and Watson have tough matchups this week. They're both going against really, really good defenses. Okay. Keep in mind that like Sutton and Watson this week, tough defenses that they're going against. Both guys have massive upside. I think Watson probably has a little more upside than Sutton. I mean, you have to understand that when Jordan Love comes back, he has a chance to be a number one in a high-powered offense. Sutton's working with a rookie quarterback. So I'd lean toward Watson would probably be number one. Sutton would be number two. That would be me. I would avoid Robinson right now. Tutu Atwell. I mean, he may have a decent week or two, but I mean, let's be honest. When Puka and Cup come back, like he may not even see the field. I like Watson more than I like Dobbs. Wilson's an okay player, but I mean, really, when I look at this, I'm looking at Christian Watson and Sutton, and Watson 1, Sutton 2. I know I heard a lot about my team. It'd be great if you can rank it. Full PPR 10-man starter, Mahomes, Derrick Henry, very solid. Jones, Aaron Jones, definitely a must start this week. Tyreek Hill, like it. Nico Collins, like it. Bowers, Diggs, Moody. Moody's 49ers kicker, Ravens defense. I like this bench. I like your bench quite a bit because DK Metcalf at any point in time. At any point in time, he could blow up. I wouldn't hate you if you started DK Metcalf over Tyreek Hill this week. I wouldn't do it. Kittle, when he's healthy, good player. Godwin's always solid. That's a dude's always going to get you points. Jaden Daniels, I would not blame you if you started Daniels over Mahomes. Wouldn't blame you at all. Pollard's really underrated, and Higgins is a guy that he could get traded at trade deadline. I would give this team a B plus. The issue I would have is that in a full PPR, you're not getting a lot of value out of Derrick Henry. Aaron Jones this week is a must start. I'm almost tempted to go Pollard. I'm almost tempted to go Pollard over Henry this week. Pollard's solid, man. Devontae Smith. God, why that drives me. Yeah, I should have known that, man. Yeah, great. Yeah, that was a good trade. I'm behind on comments, so I won't go back to the original, but that was a smart. You made some really great trades. I love your trade. So this is a really good team. I'm going to give you a B plus, and I would not blame you at all if you started Daniels over Mahomes this week. I might consider Pollard over Derrick Henry. Aaron Jones is a must start. I like Collins. I like Bowers. You're going to start Collins and Diggs. Huh. That's interesting. I don't know if I'd be on board with that. I mean, I'll be honest. I get why you're doing it because you got Jacksonville, which gave up, 5 million points last week. But I do like this team quite a bit. I might want to tweak it a little bit. I don't have a problem with this being your starting lineup, but you have some definite decisions. You want to go with Mahomes or you want to go Daniels. I think Derrick Henry or Pollard is a tough one. I mean, Kittle's always hard to bench. I don't blame you for Bowers, but I mean, Kittle, if he does play, you may want to consider him. Tough matchup against New England, though. Cleveland at Vegas. Ooh, Cleveland's got good defense too. I like the team. You have some tough decisions. I think Kittle is. I think Kittle might play. That's something I've been kind of monitoring. I didn't have a chance right before I came on, but I would probably go with Bowers this week just because of the availability. I wouldn't blame you if you started Derrick Henry, but you may want to consider Pollard over Derrick Henry. Aaron Jones this week, going back to Green Bay, must start. And I'm higher on Tyreek Hill this week than a lot of people. But even though we don't know who the starting quarterback in Miami is going to be, something I should have looked at before I came on, but I didn't have a chance. Great team, though. I give you a B plus. Yeah. You should be. You have a great team. Great team. Hey, Perry, question for you. Have you seen the BS30 plays that put Davenport out their left tackle as a POS? I know I haven't seen it. Interesting. Anthony 3120. Love the picture there. T. Higgins, Chuba Hubbard, 4th, acquired 11th and 8th for Derrick Henry. Who wins? Oh boy. So you got the 11th and the 8th for Derrick Henry. You gave up T. Higgins, Chubbard in the 4th. Okay, so I with T. Higgins, you have an unknown. Okay. Hubbard this week is going to be good, but I mean, Jonathan Brooks comes back. I remember they gave a lot of money to Miles Sanders, and since you do have Andy Dalton, who's I think going to start for it. I like what Carolina could be after watching them against the Raiders. So I mean, there's some things there. So the 4th for the 11th and the 8th, I need a little more information here. I'm leaning towards you winning because I'm assuming that is this a waiver wire draft order? I need a little more information, and it might be hard to do because I know I'm behind, and it took me a while to get to you. I'm leaning towards you because one thing about Chuba Hubbard is that when Jonathan Brooks enters the fold, his touches are going to go down. Now, is he going to get benched? Nobody knows, but they also have Miles Sanders and Derrick Henry. As long as he is healthy, he's going to keep producing. In a PPR league, I know he had a screen catch last week, but as a general rule of thumb, they really haven't been using him that way. It really comes down to so let me just do this here. Derrick Henry for T. Higgins and Chuba Hubbard alone, that's a win. Is the 4th better than 8th or 11th? Usually, like, I'm thinking more is always better. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm leaning towards you winning with Henry 8 and 11, but I need a little more information before I stamp of approval. It kind of looks like you won just because is Loftus, and I'm butchering that name, is kind of looking like he's going to be the number 2 option. I could see a situation where they just move Higgins at the trade deadline. And then with Hubbard, this week, Hubbard may put up more points than Derrick Henry. But when Jonathan Brooks comes back, I have no idea how far he's going to fall. Jonathan Brooks may come back and they may say, look, you're not ready to play in the NFL. There's a wild unknown, but there is a reason why he was the first running back taken in the draft. And if you watch him at Texas at all, like this is a stud. I mean, this is a guy who's got. There could be some guys that are holding on to Jonathan Brooks in a couple of weeks are going to be thanking me. So I'm leaning towards you, but I that 4 for 11. What specifically is that? Those draft picks for next year waiver wire? I leaning towards you, but I need a little more information. McBride lower his head. So it was. I need a little more information. What about Tua? Remember Tua drops his head. I don't know why he tried to run over Hamlin, and I mean they've been trying to work on this for a while. Not lowering your head. That's one thing. By the way, I think they're ugly as sin, and they'll work on it. But the Guardian caps, because it's like a soft cushion on top. One thing. This is probably not the best example, but Joe Paterno said if you really wanted to eliminate stuff, you'd go back to leather helmets because you could make the cushioning inside that you could run into. You could put your head down, run into a battering wall. Of course, your head down, you hurt your neck. And it's not a weapon, but it still, can offer you protection. But but yeah, you never want to dip your head, and yeah, I didn't see the play. I didn't see the play that Davenport got hurt on. I'm sorry. The NFL needs to go in on player safety or not at all. If this dude, me and you've been saying all grass. I think you need more padded practices, and that's something the NFLPA has been fighting. So, but yeah. By the way, I am so sorry. I'm behind on comments. I'm gonna try to rapid fire through some of these here. Yo, Dan, I'm getting offered Lamar and Trayvon Diggs for Aaron Jones and Pratt. Ooh. God, I would not turn down Pratt and Aaron Jones this week. You want to play Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones going back to Green Bay, and Green Bay. I think I keep in mind early on. Josh Jacobs is having some great returns, but if I'm Aaron Jones, like I don't believe in revenge games. But I don't know how the scoring system is for defensive backs versus linebackers, but Pratt, I know against Kansas City had 17 tackles. You have a very solid team, especially defensively. I think you just added Pratt or you traded for Pratt. My guess is that you're getting. I'm spitballing here because I'm not. Every scoring system is going to be a little different. More than likely, you probably get like a half a point for a tackle, and then probably 4, 5, or 6 for a pick. So, what the guy's thinking is like, oh, remember Diggs had like 9 interceptions and a couple of pick sixes and got burnt a lot, but but I definitely wouldn't do this because I mean, if I remember, you have Dalton and you also have somebody else, but I mean, Lamar is an excellent fantasy option, but definitely not this week because I could see a situation where Aaron Jones blows up, and then Pratt is a guy that I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the year he has over 150 tackles. I mean, he's going to get a lot of production from you, and I fully think that Dalton will continue to have an uptick. I wouldn't make this trade. You have Dalton. I think you have somebody else if I remember right, but yeah, I mean Pratt in a defensive league is a must-have. At least when the McBride play didn't look intentional, and Johnson kind of chopped Davenport's elbow twice when the arm was in a bad spot, and I'll have to look. I know you don't do a lot of social media anymore. If you can send me a clip, I'd love that. So, sorry guys, I'm behind on the comments here. At Dan and Funk, do you think the Giants can upset Dallas? I mean, I'm picking Dallas. I really am not a fan of what New York's doing. I really think at the end of the season, New York's just going to clean house. I don't have a lot of faith in Daniel Jones. I'm a huge fan of Mike Zimmer. I fully expect them to get the defense turned around sooner than later. That said, I mean, you got a divisional game. You're at home. The defensive one thing I do like about the Giants quite a bit is their defensive front seven. That is a front seven from hell. I mean, you got some studs all the way around. And also you got a couple rookies on that offensive line. So, I mean, I hate to tell you that any given Sunday, but one thing about the NFL is you want matchups. Well, you have a couple rookies on the offensive line. You have one of the best front sevens in football on the other side. So sure. I think Dallas wins this game, pretty handily. But look, you got a guy like Neighbors who's going to get a lot of touches, could have a huge game. I think this is also a good game for Singletary, for fantasy, but I like Dallas in this game. I feel pretty good about it, but yeah. By the way, Perry, thanks, brother. Oh man. Anytime you're facing me, yeah, that's never a good thing. Yeah, keep Thomas Jr. if you can. Perry loves this guy. Chris T, thanks for coming in again, brother. I love seeing you in here. I'll work on trying to get through the comments faster. Keep in mind this is a one man crew. You know, a lot of bigger YouTube channels have, you know, a team. I do not, so it's just me. But I'm gonna do everything I can. Would I trade Amari Cooper and Brian Thomas for Devontae Smith and Jamison Williams? Oh God, I kind of like that. It's another league I'm in, and Amari Cooper's on my bench. I know Smith is hurt, but he would be on my bench. You have Amari Cooper and Brian Thomas, and you want to trade for Smith and Jamison Williams. I would advise against it. And here's the reason why I would advise against it is that you're going to get higher production out of Amari Cooper once those tackles come back healthy and Nick Chubb comes back. You're going to get more production out of Cooper. Brian Thomas Jr. has unlimited potential there in Jacksonville. Keep in mind when A.J. Brown comes back. Remember, they traded for Jahan Dotson. So I as much as I love Devontae Smith, the player, I think they're going to kind of phase him out a little bit. Jamison Williams, I know he had that big performance week one. I think that might be like the highlight of his year. I would advise against this because I'm looking at Amari Cooper's just ascending. Brian Thomas is a guy that in a couple of weeks from now might be a must start. I love this kid's upside, and Perry will agree. Listen, if you're Jacksonville and you lose to Houston, you're going to be 0-4. If you don't make a coaching change and you're Doug Peterson, you're thinking to yourself, how do I keep my job? Well, I want to get the most talented players on the field, and that would be Brian Thomas Jr., and they'll figure it out. You could see some craziness in Jacksonville. I'm actually wondering because you could see, I'm going to tell you something else too. If you see a coaching change, which is, I would say unexpected, but not unheard of, then I don't know what to think. Because if you have a coaching change, more than likely you have Press Taylor, who's the offensive coordinator. He may take over. It's probably not going to be the defensive coordinator who's new. If Press Taylor takes over, because he's been the offensive coordinator, that could be a situation where maybe he wants to throttle down with Brian Thomas Jr. and want to use something, play a little more conservative. I know that sounds kind of crazy, like it would be just the opposite, but that could be something to think about. But for right now, I would not make this trade because Amari Cooper and Brian Thomas Jr. are two guys on the up. Devontae Smith is you have injury issues. A guy that just arrived in training camp in John Dotson. Remember, he was a former first-round pick. I didn't think he should have been a first-round pick, but this is a playmaker. You also get A.J. Brown coming back too. So, AK, what's up, brother? Now, I again apologize for being behind. Running backs are Hall, Kamara, Etienne, Ford. My wide receivers are London, Rice, Neighbors. Nice receiving crew. Goodwin. My tight end Bowers and Goddard. Would I do London and Etienne for Taylor? God, I love Jonathan Taylor. And he's the only guy on the Colts right now that I would want. And they're kind of running that offense through him. What I like about this trade is that, you know, Rice and Neighbors are 1 and 2, and you could argue between London and Godwin. So, London's, you don't need London. what I like about this is that you got some, you know, can I ask you this? Is there a possibility that is there any chance? I know I'm just throwing it out there. Is there any chance that this guy would take Ford instead? I'll be honest. I'm a huge ETN fan as far as fantasy is concerned. Okay, and he's been productive. Jonathan Taylor has a possibility of just being phenomenal, but in the past they really haven't used him in passing game. What you're really looking at is an ETN for Taylor, and I get that because I like your running back crew. I have a hard time really telling you to get rid of ETN. That's kind of what I have a problem with, and I'll explain. Taylor doesn't catch the ball a lot. He's had some problems staying healthy. ETN, even though he missed like his whole rookie season, last year he was pretty solid. He was healthy the whole year. I have more confidence ETN would stay healthy than Jonathan Taylor. That's the issue I have. However, you got Breece Hall and Kamara, two really, really, really good running backs already. I get why you would want to do it because you got a guy in Jonathan Taylor that they're just kind of like building the offense around. I mean, Taylor's probably going to get more touches than ETN. And one thing I love about Taylor, both Taylor and ETN are big play threats. Like, I love Taylor's 230 and can score from anywhere on the field. I mean, I really, 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 really like that. This is a real tough one, man. I like ETN as far as fantasy. ETN's a little less likely to get hurt. But you're really not even using London. I mean, Rice and Neighbors are your number one guys. This is a real tough one. This is a real tough one. I'm leaning maybe. I'm giving you a terrible answer. I make this move, but making this move, just know that you're gonna hate yourself and you're gonna hate me if you make this move and Taylor goes down. That's the issue I have. You're banking on a guy who's not been able to stay healthy the last 2 years. If you make this move, just be warned. Like, I mean, by the way, I wouldn't start Taylor this week either. I mean, he's going against Steelers. Is there let me ask you this. Can you hold off and make this trade after this week? Can you do that? Because London, you're probably got on your bench. I think ETN may be just as productive, if not more productive than Taylor this week. Can you do that? Great question. That's a good one. Guys, I'm going to take a very fast commercial break, but I will be back with hour 2 of Afternoon Delight. As I take a quick commercial break to fix my hair, just a reminder, my award-winning NFL Weekly Picks video is out. If you haven't watched it already, make sure you do it. Not now. This is only a commercial. We still have more Afternoon Delight to give you, but do check out my NFL Weekly Picks video. It's awesome! Dan Talks Football is a proud affiliate of BetUS. You can get up to 125% bonus as featured, or do what I did and take a 20% bonus up to $2,500. I made a video where I show you my first $100 deposit, and thanks to the extra 20%, it turned into $120 instantly. This promotion isn't just for 1 or 2, but your first 3 deposits. Click on the link in the description and start winning today. Keaton from Keaton Talk Sports joins Afternoon Delight every Monday. He has a great YouTube channel, and his channel is listed in the description below. We do have a problem though. We want to create a friendly wager on who picks more winners in our weekly picks videos. Can you help us out? What should Keaton do when I pick more winners than he does? Drop a comment here or in the weekly picks videos. Now, back for some more Afternoon Delight. Yes! All right. What a great hour one. Let's have a great hour two here. I'm going to try really fast, kind of rapid fire through some of these, but I want to make sure I answer all your questions. AK here. Hopefully you don't have an issue with me calling you AK. Running backs, Hall, Kamara, ETN, Ford. My wide receivers, London, Rice, Neighbors, Godwin, tight end, Bowers, and Goddard. Would I do Godwin, ETN, Goddard for Barkley and Reed? Ooh, okay. Earlier, I apologize. So somebody emailed me about a Saquon Barkley for Neighbors and Aaron Jones trade, but he had a massive hole at receiver. Keep in mind, what I do like about this is that you're getting what may be the fantasy football MVP in Barkley, and you're adding Barkley to a really this is a good team. I mean, you got some really, really, really good players. You got some solid, I think, number one receivers in Rice and Neighbors. You're not even using London or Godwin. I mean, you're really not. So I like the fact that you can get Godwin. London has a chance to have some uptick. I hate what they're doing in Atlanta. I see that you're just not liking ETN. Okay. I think he's a solid dude. This is the same issue that I have here with Jonathan Taylor with Barkley. The thing is, though, with Barkley is that I love Barkley this year in fantasy football because you have this massive offensive line and you have a pass-happy coach in Philly, or pass-happy offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore, Barkley's going to get a lot of opportunities in the passing game. Jalen Reed, I'm not really a fan of. Not really a fan of. You're not going to get a lot of touches out of Reed. It basically what Reed is a guy that you're not even going to use, to tell you the truth. Now, Bowers has looked pretty good early on. Goddard is playing lights out, but is he going for 170 again this year? Probably not. I get why you would want to do this. It sounds like you just want to get rid of ETN. I'm going to level with you. As much as I love Barkley, especially in fantasy football and especially this year, I'd almost be leaning towards this trade instead, because I don't expect Goddard to go for 170, but I would really like you to keep Goddard on your team, even though Bowers is playing well. I really, as much as I love Barkley, I really don't want. I mean, Rice and Neighbors are your 1 and 2. Okay, your Godwin you're not really using. ETN, honestly, is a solid guy. I mean, he really is. But I can understand why you're like, hey, look, I'm sacrificing my number 3 guy, and I'm not even using my started tight end for a guy like Barkley. You're not. I mean, Reed's a throwaway. I'm almost leaning towards this because there's a chance you could get a lot of touches with Taylor, but I have, even, by the way, Jonathan Taylor and Barkley are both guys that have an issue with injuries in the past. I'd almost do this one instead because you could keep your starting tight end. But here's the thing: Barkley is going to get you so many points if you pull this trigger. There's a chance you pull the trigger here, and you start Barkley. Let's say you start Barkley over Kamara, which is what I would do. Or Brees Hall. I mean, either or. To tell you the truth, I kind of like Brees Hall this week. He's at home. I know Denver's defense had a great week last week. I'm not sold on them being this top tier unit. Atlanta's defense is really good. Kamara could have a good week, but anyway. God, these are some really good trades, man. I mean, I want to level with you. I get that you don't like ETN. You get these switching. He's kind of giving up some carries and stuff. If you are going to get rid of him, which I'm not completely sold on, I'd almost rather you make this move than this move. Even though Barkley, I can rant and rave on how. Huge offensive line, pass happy coach. I would almost rather you do this. I would really, if you can, I would really want you to hold off and see what happens with Jacksonville this week with ETN, because I mean, look, you're 0-3. You're traveling to Houston. If you lose this game, you go 0-4. ETN's a guy that has, this is a guy that's threatened the passing game. This is a home run threat. This is a guy. The one thing I want to emphasize is that ETN, I firmly believe ETN's has a much better chance to stay healthy than Barkley or Jonathan Taylor. Taylor's probably going to get more touches. If you're in PPR league, Barkley's going to get you more points, but you lose your starting tight end, even though you got Bowers, which is solid. So I know I'm not giving you an answer that you want to hear. I'm not giving you a great answer. I would really hold off before you make one of these big moves, at least one more week. I'm looking at this team. I mean, I'm assuming you're doing well. I mean, you got some players that got you points. So, I mean, I'm assuming you're doing well. Or if you're 0-3, I would actually. I mean, who's your quarterback? But can you hold off for 1 week, because I really think that your running backs. I mean, Brees Hall I think is going to have a good game. Kamara against Atlanta. I wouldn't blame you if you bench Ford, but to tell you the truth, if I was you and you're desperate, I mean, is there any way that Ford is available for a trade instead? I mean, I'm telling you right now, I after this week, you may really change your mind about ETN. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I would go, even though it's not a good matchup with Kamara. I'm starting Hall, Kamara. I'm putting ETN in the flex. I'm going with Rice and Neighbors. I mean, can you hold off for 1 week? I'm not giving you the best answer or I'm definitely not giving you an answer you want to hear, because you're. It sounds like you want to get rid of ETN. Can you hold off for 1 more week before you pull the trigger? I'll be honest, it sounds a little crazy, because as much as I like Barkley in fantasy, I'd rather you do London and ETN for Jonathan Taylor than get rid of Goddard and Godwin and ETN, because you're not going to use Reed at all. I mean, you Reed's a throwaway. This guy's not using Reed either. So let me know what you do, man. I apologize how far behind I am. Chris T, my wide receivers, Ayo, Cooper, DK, Thomas Jr. If I make a trade, I'd have Ayok, DK, Smith, and Williams. Hold on here. Okay, so let's see here. So yeah. So you said you would have this trade. So you would have Amari Cooper, Brian Thomas for Devontae Smith and Jameson Williams. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that trade. So you'd have AOC, DK, Smith, and Williams. No. Don't make this trade. The one thing I want to emphasize about what you have now is in Thomas Jr. and Cooper, you got in AOC, all these guys are going to be going up. With DK Metcalf, you're going to have that guy 100 yards and a touchdown next week, 2 catches, 35 yards. I would encourage you not to make this trade. Yeah, the Cowboys are. I don't like using ESPN, but I just have it pulled up. They're 5.5. The last win against the Giants, and here's the deal. The only way the Giants, I'm going to go over the blueprint. Here's how the Giants win this game is that their front seven pressures Prescott into making mistakes. Neighbors and Singletary both have good games, and Daniel Jones doesn't turn the ball over. But there's a definite blueprint because I can see the Giants front seven causing problems for Dallas. Keep in mind Dallas has 2 rookie offensive linemen. I mean, I'm not talking in physical ability, but I remember watching on Sunday Night Football, I was watching the Eagles and the Falcons, and I was watching that Eagles offensive line dominate. Then the Falcons started to counter with some stunts. And Mekhi Becton, who's just learning to play guard, he was having a dominant game. Then he started running stunts, and he got a little confused. So that's kind of the matchup that I'm looking at when I watch this game. I'm watching I'm watching the Giants front seven. And I'm also watching that Cowboys offensive line. Are the Cowboys offensive lines not making the right adjustments? Because if they're not, this could be a long game. And what will happen is Prescott will get sacked or he'll throw a pick and they'll blame Prescott, but it could be the offensive line. So there is a blueprint. Keep in mind, Daniel Jones doesn't turn the ball over. Maybe he uses his legs. Singletary against a defense that struggled stopping the run. And Neighbors, they're going to force feed the kid. So you are not alone. I work with a Cowboys fan who's a super, super good guy, but I wouldn't mind kind of rubbing it in his face a little bit. By the way, this same buddy would rub it in my face forever if the Chiefs lose. Yeah, I feel that way. BH, what's up, brother? Man, I'm glad to see you back. Should I take London and Brian Thomas Jr. for Goddard, Waddle, and Keon? Ooh, boy. So you know I love Waddle. Keon Coleman had his first NFL touchdown. I'm not that high on him. I would take. I'll be honest. I love the upside of Brian Thomas Jr. Who's your tight end? I mean, look, I'm a level with you. London and Brian Thomas for Waddle and Keon, I like a lot, even though I think Waddle, despite the issues they're having in Miami, the only issue I have is who's your tight end? Because if you don't have, I mean, Goddard blew up last week, and I like the way that they're using him, and he's a guy who's your tight end. I mean, if you got somebody good, then if you got somebody good, make this move because you are getting 2 better receivers. Keep in mind when I say better, like they got to figure out how to use London more in the red zone. Atlanta's doing almost everything wrong offensively. So yeah, especially DK. I want to start Metcalf. I know. I mean, look, you have a banged up secondary. You have a primetime game. I get it. I would not blame you. Why isn't Godwin starting? LOL. Oh, and where is it? Where is it here? Because you have Rice and Neighbors. I think Rice and Neighbors are number ones right now. All right. You could in a flex. I'm assuming you're going with 3 running backs. In your situation, I should. Braylon Allen. Tyler Owens, great question. I understand, but I definitely go Braylon Allen. They really like what they see out of him. They're using him. They're using the running back. So right now, the leading receiver for the Jets is actually Breece Hall, not Garrett Wilson, and I'm not sure that's going to continue. But one thing about Braylon Allen is that this is a guy that I think that they're going to start using more on short yardage, and he could be in for a touchdown or 2. Keep in mind, Breece Hall doesn't get hurt, but if he does, Allen's intakes are. But you're just looking for this week. I don't like Wendell Robinson right now at all. I have to admit, I remember when the Giants drafted him. It was like pick number. I have to look at my notes, but I think it was pick number 44 or 46. I remember the Giants traded down twice, and that was my least favorite pick in the whole draft. So I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I like Braylon Allen, and I would not be surprised if Braylon Allen scores. I will be surprised if Robinson scores. So I would go Braylon Allen because they're using him more in the passing game than I was expecting. They don't throw their running backs. They didn't used to. Keep in mind, Wisconsin got a new head coach, I think, 2 years ago. But or was it last year? I forget when it was, but Braylon Allen's catching the ball a little more. I would go with Allen. Short answer. Sorry. Rate my 12-team PPR. Mike Stroud. Barkley, winner of fantasy football, MVP currently. A-Chain, DK, two streaky dudes. Ferguson, solid. Connor, you're going to with Connor. Be prepared the drop off. I really, really like Trey Benson, and there's no question he's got more speed. Steelers D won you a lot of games, and Q is perfect because you have an offense that's struggling. A lot of people think that you want to get a kicker of a high scoring team. I've always been a fan of the other way. I want a kicker of an offense that's struggling because I know I'm going to get a lot of field goals. But your Steelers D and Q are fantastic. Barkley's an MVP. A-Chain, as long as Mozart's out, is solid. And I like Stroud. I think he'll have an uptick in performance. If they blow out Jacksonville, he's not going to have a good game. But I would give you like a B minus. I like Ferguson. Ayuk is a guy that his production's going to go up. DK is as streaky as it gets. If you start or play DK on a week that he's on, you're doing fantastic. He has a lot of weeks where it's like 2-3 catches, 30-40 yards. That's why I overall I'm giving you like a B to B minus. Barkley's the MVP. Stroud's a good quarterback. I like Ferguson. Ayuk production's just going to start going up. What I really love about this team is the Steelers D, because you're always going to get points with Steelers D, and Q is phenomenal. So I like this team. And like I said, DK is one of those really streaky guys, but when you get him when he's playing, you're doing really, really well. Mike McFarland, what's up, brother? Man, glad to see you back in the chat. I'm sorry it took a while. Would I start Shakir or Jaden Reed half BPR? I'm starting Olave as my wide receiver 1. Thinking I couldn't go wrong with either way. I haven't checked quarterback status. I'm going to tell you, I like Shakir, even if Jordan Love comes back and starts. I kind of like Shakir this week. Olave, it's a tough matchup because that Falcons secondary is really, 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 really good. It's really, really, really good. That said, Olave is one of those guys that just needs. It's funny because Rashid Shaheed, he's the big play threat, but I just remember Olave. He set the receiving touchdown mark at Ohio State. I always look at Olave as like a home run type of threat. And he's one of those guys that just needs that one play, and then boom, you got yourself 10, 15 points. He's a big play dude. Shakir, I'm leaning towards Shakir. Even if Love starts, I like Shakir. Keep in mind, so there was some guy in the comments section for Keaton, because I talked about the Vikings defense. He's like, Packers defense really good. I'm like, Vikings are allowing 10 points a game. I mean, what they're doing defensively is crazy right now. So do I want a backup quarterback going against what are nobody's saying this? The Vikings may have the best defense in football. It's probably Pittsburgh, but the Vikings defense is for real. You don't want to go against the Vikings defense. So start Shakir. I feel really good about Shakir over Reed. Neither one are really going to have huge games. So $100 buy-in. I will say this: the Steelers D and Q are super solid. Plus, you have the MVP and Barkley. Those I like. Stroud I like. If Mozart's out, our chain. I mean, a chain. I mean, I home run threat, but I mean, could easily start getting phased out. And when you start DK, if you get him on the week that he's doing good, you're doing great. One thing I like about this team is that Brandon Ayuk, his production is going to start just skyrocketing up. Leo, what's up, brother? In 8-man league, I have Jaden Daniels, Barkley, Gibbs, DK, Nico Collins, Cup. Don't trade Cup just yet. Well, I mean, let me ask you this here, because with Barkley and Collins, you got legit number ones. I just talked about DK. Some weeks he's on, some weeks he's off. Same thing with Gibbs, who I think should be used less. Jaden Daniels has been very, very good first couple of weeks of the season. What kind of a trade can you get for Cup before you say don't trade him? I mean, can you get somebody who's is there somebody you have? I'll tell you what, when Cup comes back, I would start Cup over DK. But like I've been saying, DK is one of those guys that 1 week he'll have 2 catches, 30. Next week will be over 100 and a touchdown or 2. You never know. When Cup's healthy, he's that guy. I always, what kind of a team. So like when I played fantasy football in Kansas City, there was a lot of guys that wanted to take Chiefs players. I was in a league with a guy that was a huge Cowboys fan, and he always had 2 to 3 Cowboys on his team, no matter what. What trade value could you get from Cup? Because you might be able to get something really good. Keep in mind, when he does come back, he is definitely a starter. Oh, God, you got Kenneth Walker? Yeah, Walker. By the way, Walker, I believe, is playing. If he is, you definitely want to start him at Detroit. Should I be worried about James Cook versus Ravens, or should I start DK Dobbins instead in the flex? Also have Jonathan Taylor and Jordan Mason. I'll be honest. I would start Cook over Mason. I would not be worried about Cook versus the Ravens. The Ravens defense is not been the same. And I don't know what happened. I've been meaning to watch it, and I haven't had a chance to go back. But the score is 28-6, like 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and ends up being 28-25. I'm like, what the hell happened? Cook versus Ravens is a must start. And I love J.K. Dobbins. So I would take Mason out. Mason, listen, the New England Patriots defense is good. I could see a situation where New England, by the way, I love New England covering in this game, but I'm not going to put action on it. I could see New England with a banged up Purdy just saying, look, we're gonna put 7 in the box, old school 8, but new school 7, and we're gonna force Purdy to beat us by blitzing the hell out of him. And by the way, Christian Gonzalez is a legit number 1 corner. I know he was injured all of last year, which was his rookie year. I know he started like 6 games. He's a legit number 1. I would strongly suggest Cook and Dobbins instead of Mason. I would go Cook or Dobbins. Keep in mind Dobbins against Kansas City. That's a tough matchup as well. But I like Cook and Dobbins over Mason this week. But if you're dead set on Mason, I don't blame you. Cook or Dobbins, I would say Cook. You're in a PPR league. Cook's more likely to get you some receptions. Dobbins probably isn't, but if out of your 4 running backs, the one I'm leaving off would be Mason. But Cook over Dobbins over Mason. That would be my suggestion. But please let me know how you do. Hopefully we're talking Monday and you're just celebrating because you won by 50 points. I just saw Dell didn't practice. He is questionable. Maybe Diggs isn't that bad. I get that. I'm kind of looking at that game. Like if Houston blows out Jacksonville, which I don't think will happen. I like Houston. By the way, Houston's the 6. I'm using ESPN bets on it. Bet US pulled up, but 6 from ESPN. I would expect Houston to win, but I could see like a 31-24 type of game. If that's the case, then Diggs and Collins, I'm expecting big games. I'm not expecting Mixon to play, but if he does, he could have it. So, I didn't have a chance to check out the injury report. I'm going to go over a little more of the injuries Monday. Probably, I'll be honest. If Dell plays, probably not that big of a factor either way. I'm kind of thinking Houston's going to put up some points in this game. If this is a blowout like Buffalo did to Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's just falling apart, if that's the case, then nobody on fantasy is going to have a good game, except for that backup running back whose name is Cam Akers. That's it. So remember, Dan, it's Las Vegas. I'm in the chaos and. Yeah, if you're talking about that trade from earlier where the guy got Derrick Henry and I forget the other ones, but I wanted a little more information about the draft capital because it sounds like 8 and 12 is better than 4. God offers Spears and Mozart for the Vikings defense. When Mozart's healthy, it could be a phenomenal option. Keep in mind, nobody is really sure what they're doing at the quarterback position. Tajee Spears is a guy I really like, but I have no confidence in the Tennessee offense. And I do think if Denver Gator's still in the chat, he's going to get mad. But I think it's just a matter of time before Levis gets benched. Spears last year was very impressive. As a general rule of thumb, sometimes you can just find waiver wire defenses. That said, I love what Minnesota's doing this year defensively, and I would really hate for you to get rid of a defense that's doing really well for 2 running backs that may do nothing. As a general rule of thumb, I will tell you this: like there's so many. I'm over a half an hour behind on comments, so I'm really sorry it took me a while to get to this, and I can't even give you a good answer. But I would need a little more information. If you're 3-0. And you have some issues at the running back position, 100% make this move. If you're in a league that prioritizes defense, you're always going to get points with the Vikings defense. They're going to produce sacks, turnovers. They're going to be tough to score against. If you have some good running backs, you may not want to make this move. But one thing I'm going to say is Spears, even though he's not the main guy, Pollard is a guy I really like. Mozart, when he enters the lineup, probably not this week, but when he enters the lineup, he might be, depending on what your roster looks like, a guy that you want to start. So I'm leaning towards, yes, I need a little more information. In fantasy, would you keep your eyes on Malik Willis just in case he continue to use his leg on certain plays? No. Once he goes to the bench, they probably won't use him. They'll probably try to get Jordan Love acclimated. I mean, they gave Josh Jacobs a ton of money. I would not even consider. I honestly would not consider Willis a starting at all. So. With Love comes, yeah, exactly. The Taylor side is fleecing. If you're talking about ETN, I forget what the other player, ETN in London versus Jonathan Taylor. If you think getting Jonathan Taylor, I'm a little higher on ETN. So exactly. Or could I give Ladd instead of Waddle so I get London and Brian Thomas Jr. for Goddard, Ladd, and Keon? Ooh, God, can you do that instead? If you can do, I have no faith in Ladd McConkey at all. Waddle, I think at the end of the year, Waddle will be widely more productive. But the only issue I have is that you're giving up your starting tight end. But if you're getting rid of Goddard, Ladd, and Keon, you're not playing either one of those guys, are you? In London and Brian, the one thing is they need to figure out how to use London, but Brian Thomas Jr. is a dude who has massive upside. The issue I have is that you're getting rid of your starting tight end who's going to be wildly productive for you. But that's the only thing I have is that, you're going to get possibly more production out of Goddard than London and Thomas combined. But the thing is, Thomas and London's upside is just crazy high, especially Brian Thomas Jr. There could be a point in the next couple of weeks that Brian Thomas Jr. is getting you almost the same type of production as Neighbors is getting. That's not an exaggeration. So if you have a viable, you got to have a good option at tight end. I don't want you to lose your starting tight end, but if you got somebody that's getting you points, if you got a decent option at tight end, make this move. Yeah, and definitely keep Waddle and throw in Ladd McConkey. I would do that in a heartbeat. Jameson Williams or T. Higgins this week. I really think that they're phasing out Higgins in Cincinnati. I really believe that. I know Carolina had a good week defensively. I'm not sold on their defense. Sooner or later, Higgins is going to have a really good game. It's just a question of when. It could be this week. I know Higgins or Jameson Williams had 2 touches. I think his, it's a situation if you could have traded him after week 1. So, I like guys on Monday night. I really like guys on Monday night, but I could see it. I could really. Here's the deal: sooner or later, Higgins is going to have one of those 8-catch, 2 touchdown performances, and I have no idea. I could also see a situation where Williams has like 2 touches. I do like having a guy on Monday night. I could argue both ways, and that's not a good answer at all. I'm kind of leaning towards Jameson Williams. Clear like this could be the week where Higgins has that breakout week. It's going to happen sooner or later. I want to be very clear. Sooner or later, Higgins is going to have that big week. I know a lot of people think Seattle has this great defense. I am not one of them. Laporta being banged up may have a positive impact on Jameson Williams. I expect Laporta to play, but I just don't think it'll be 100%. Leaning towards Williams, but I want to be very clear. There's going to be a week where Higgins blows up. It could be this week. If Kelsey is your tight end, by the way, Kelsey usually traditionally does really well against the Chargers. It's just next week he turns 35. And Chiefs fans, were convinced that, he's going to play for another 5 years. I'm like, no, this is probably his farewell year. Father Time's undefeated. And I mean, he's been slowing down over the last couple of years. And last year it was really obvious that he took a big step. Now this year it looks like he took like 3 steps. That said, I mean, he's still a starter. Goddard, long-term for the rest of the year would be better. But if Kelsey's your tight end, I 100% make this move, because one thing about Brian Thomas Jr. is that you have a massive upside. Drake London, if they fix this offense out, you're trading 2 legitimate number 1 receivers for 2 guys you're not even going to use. So, yeah, make this move. Starting Dowdle, Spears, or Javonte. Oh, God, that's a tough one. I don't like any of them, to be honest with you. I really don't like either one of these guys. I'll level with you. I really don't understand why Cook is not on the active roster. Let me look at Spears' numbers. Like, so far, he's done almost nothing. I will say this: last week he did have 4 receptions for 54 yards. That's a plus. But I mean, he hasn't had 10 touches in a game at all this year. I'll be honest. I really thought Spears would be. I thought it'd be more of a 1-2 punch instead of a Batman Robin type of deal, where they're using Pollard a lot more. I have such a man crush on Javonte Williams, but they're just not using him. They like that McLaughlin kid instead. I'm not a fan of Dowdle at all, but I mean, he seems to be the starter in quotes. Had 11 touches last week. Hasn't scored a touchdown all year. But I like guys on primetime games. Usually players get a little up. I really want to tell you Javonte, but they're not really using him. They're really not using him. 9 touches last week. It looks like they're trying to force feed him into the offense. Oh my God, 2.2 yards a carry. You got three bad options here. All right. You got 3 bad options. I don't like any of them. I can make an argument for all 3 of them. I would go in this type of situation. I would go with Spears, and I'll tell you why. You have Dowdle, who's going against a really, really good front 7. You have Javonte Williams going against the Jets team that's going to, like, it's just a matter. Sooner or later, that Jets defense is going to be really good. I know they look bad week 1, but they held the Patriots to week 3. Also, they have a few days rest. Okay. I would go with Spears. You have holes in that Miami defense. You have a situation with the backup quarterback where these are 3 bad options. I would go with Spears. I don't like any of them. I don't like any of them. Go with Spears if you have to pick one. I think he's the most likely to get the most touches, and you're going against a Dolphins defense, which is clearly, out of those 3 teams, the worst defense is the Dolphins. So that's how I would do it. Ooh, what a great question. Moss at Carolina, Hubbard at Cincinnati. I like both, to be honest with you. I'm slightly because I'm slightly leaning towards Hubbard, and the only reason I'm going slightly towards Hubbard is I do have Carolina winning in an upset. I like Carolina this week to win. I think Andy Dalton's going to get his revenge. I don't believe in revenge games in the NFL, but this is a dude who I mean, he's been a 10-year starter in Cincinnati. They kind of just threw him away. Keep in mind too, they're, believe it or not, even as bad as they've been, I've heard a few people that have been to Carolina games are like, there's some fan love. It's a nice stadium. It's a big stadium by NFL standards. So I've been really high on Moss. Some people like, Chase Brown. Some people like him better. This week, Hubbard, but I honestly, I actually really like both running backs this week. So I don't think you're really going to make a wrong decision. Hubbard by a little bit, just because I like Carolina to win. That's kind of the reason why I'm looking at it. So yeah, I agree, brother. I have Benson as well. I'm sorry, Chris T. I was so behind on comments. Okay, in your league, trying to blank on Benson, man. Because you're asking about this, I'm just drawing a blank on Benson. Here's kind of the junkie. I was just talking about how much I like that kid. Because you have Connor and Benson. That I didn't know that. That's actually huge. I like that a lot because when Benson, I think, will take over as a starter sooner or later. That's really good. You are, yeah. That's really good. Over under on the Clowns versus Las Vegas. I don't like using ESPN, but right now it's 36.5. I'll be honest, I actually like the over on this game. Oh God, nobody's watching that. Nobody's watching that except for fantasy. I actually will watch that until the Seahawks Lions comes on, and I'm going to be obsessed with Sion. I'm sorry, then I'm going to be obsessed with that Lions Seahawks game. That's going to be a really good game. Really excited about it. I'm going to be live for Kansas City versus the Chargers. Saints versus Falcons, one of my favorite all-time rivalries, and I really can't wait to watch that Packers-Vikings game. And then I'm here in Vegas, so I'll be forced to watch Cleveland versus Vegas, which actually I have on DVR. I have to sign up for the NFL Sunday ticket, unfortunately, this week. So can I do a channel membership on YouTube? Yes, I have an option with like a membership, super chats. I just haven't set it up because that's not that big of a channel yet. I have that option. Once your channel becomes monetized, you can do super chats, and you can do like a membership where I charge X amount for like special videos. I'm small channel, so yeah. Kelsey or Ertz? God, okay. I'm a diehard, longtime Chiefs fan. Kelsey's always done well against the Chargers. But you have to go with Ertz. I mean, that Washington defense is bad. I'm going to tell you this right now. I can almost promise you, I can almost promise you that, I can almost promise you Kelsey's going to get a touchdown. I thought Ertz had a touchdown. I thought or you know what? I feel bad because like I thought Ertz had a touchdown, 12-128. I was almost positive they had touchdown. I want to tell you Ertz, but as a longtime Chiefs fan, and I am a Chiefs fan, Kelsey's probably going to score this week, so go with Kelsey. The matchup is better for Ertz. The logic is better with Ertz. I thought Ertz already had a touchdown. Ertz is due for a touchdown, by the way, but Kelsey's always played well against the Chargers. He's always played well in LA. Dan, did you just tell someone start Walker maybe in a PPR league? Yeah, absolutely. Well, keep in mind, though that particular league is a PPR league. But yeah, I do think Walker is somebody you do want to play, depending on the lineup. But in a PPR league, which is becoming more the standard, I think it's a good play. But no, do I think Walker is going to run all over the Lions? No, I don't. But I think in the PPR league, he's good. It's a good play. I'll be honest. I like Montgomery better. Probably my running backs, I might go Montgomery and Walker. The thing is that the way Seattle's been running their offense is that when Walker plays, they give him about 20, 25 touches. And Charbonnet gets like 5 to 10. And really, I really think it should be more like this. They're going to split the touches between Montgomery and Gibbs probably. And I think, you know, I've been adamant they should give Montgomery the ball more than they should give Gibbs. So, but yeah, I like Walker in a PPR. And the league that whoever asked that question, I'm like 90% sure it's a PPR. If it's not, Funk has a really good point. I'm having trouble to play either Burrow or Jalen Hurts, either Travis Kelce or Ertz. What do you think of the Packers defense? I like the Packers defense. The one thing about and by the way, I mean, Sam Darnold's banged up. Jordan Addison's banged up. But, I mean, you got Justin Jefferson. Aaron Jones is going to have a good day. Logically, I would tell you Ertz. My Chiefs fandom and knowledge of Kelsey against the Chargers is going Kelsey. One thing, here's a drill. Hurts will traditionally get you more points. You got the tush push. I don't like revenge games. I don't really believe that they exist, but Philly going down to Tampa Bay after getting destroyed in the wild card round, I could see them having a chip on their shoulder and playing well. You heard me just get done saying I like Carolina to beat Cincinnati. Joe Burrow destroyed a Commanders defense that's not very good. I watched the Panthers defense last week play really well, but they're banged up. They're not very good. So it's funny because I'm picking Eagles to win. I'm picking Panthers to win, but I'm going to tell you Burrow over Hurts this week in fantasy. Because I do think Burrow, by the way, fantasy-wise, Burrow outplayed Daniels, but got the loss. And I think Burrow in a loss will probably get you more points than Hurts. That's a tough one, man. I like Burrow and Kelsey. I wouldn't blame you if you went Hurts and Hurts and Ertz. Vikings defense played phenomenal. Delvin Collins questionable. Days will make money. Even I think Collins is questionable, but I think he'll play. And I kind of think Houston across the board will have a good day offensively. So Shelby Ward is an 8-chain owner. Absolutely, he should be. His touches are going to go way down. And keep in mind, that even if they do keep his touches up with the quarterback situation the way it is, when Mozart comes back, you 100% should be worried. You might be in a situation where I would consider you probably should, because the value is high, you may be able to get good trade compensation for A-Chain, but absolutely should be worried. I mean, there's a lot of things to worry about, but I know that week 2 performance against Buffalo was amazing. He probably won't have that again. But if Mozart's out, I wouldn't blame you if you started A-Chain. But when Mozart's back, the A-Chain touches are going to drop tremendously. Add that to a questionable quarterback situation, you have some problems. So, yeah. At Funk, would you like Holmes to trade for Trey Hendricks, the defensive end for the Bengals? I would love it. Note, Hendrickson held out because he wants a new contract. If you do trade for him, it's either you have to figure this out if it's a 1-year rental or if you have the ability to sign him long term. Now, if you sign him long term, keep in mind, if you sign him long term, you're not signing him for a lot of money. Whatever you sign him for, Aiden Hutchinson's agent, I don't know if they're represented by the same guy or not. Aiden Hutchinson's looking at that going, well, we're getting like almost double that. And unfortunately, when I say almost double, it might be almost double. I mean, so, but if you sign him for like a 1-year rental, you're already low on draft capital. Just keep that in mind. Start Wayndale and DeMarcus in PPR. Got a couple bad options. I'm going to level with you. I'm not high on either one. I have a kind of a soft spot for Demarcus Robinson. He was drafted in Kansas City. Fun fact, he was drafted in the 4th round. Tyreek Hill's in the 5th. Tyreek Hill's slightly better career as of now. Demarcus Robinson's always had talent. It was just problem staying consistent. And there's a reason why he's been bouncing around the NFL. I think the Rams are like his 5th team. I have no confidence in Wendell Robinson. I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan. So I have a hard time when coming out of college, if I like one guy and I don't like another guy, I have a hard time. I have a really hard time kind of getting over that. It's just one thing about Wayndale Robinson is that this is a guy who really should just be a kick, punt, return guy that, gets about 50, 60 touches a year tops. I mean, Demarcus Robinson, I always thought had the ability to be a low end 1, high end 2 in the NFL. Never really worked out. Neither are ideal options. Los Angeles plays at Chicago. Great defense. Dallas has some issues. Weather could be an issue. Neither's good. I would probably, even though I don't like Wendell Robinson or Wendell, whatever. I mean, here's his numbers: 15 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown. 8 targets, 7 catches, 61 yards last week. And I mean, Dallas has struggled on defense. The Bears have a really, really good defense. Forget the numbers. The defense is really, 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 good. Demarcus Robinson, 7 catches, 121. Last week, 1 catch, 4 yards. I'm sorry, correction. 1 catch, 32 yards. He had 4 targets. Neither one's good. I would go with Wayndale. These are bad options, by the way, but I mean, go with the guy who has more production against a worse defense. Plus, you know, a primetime game, players usually get amped up a little more in a primetime game. You may get lucky, and I mean, the one thing I will say about Wendell is both are both are Robinson. Is that he could have that screen play, that screen play where he breaks a few tackles and scores a touchdown. Demarcus Robinson's not really that type of dude. I've seen him had some great games in Kansas City. Like, he'd have these games where he'd have like over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. You're like, oh, we finally showed up. And then next week he'd be nothing and make you want to pull your hair out. But Wendell, neither option's good. I traded Singletary for DJ Moore and Eckler. Did I win this trade? Ugh. I'm kind of high on Singletary, and I like him this week. Depending on your lineup, though, you may have got a legitimate number 1 receiver in DJ Moore, so that's a plus. Eckler's not playing. Hopefully you saw that he's not going to play. Hopefully you made this knowing that Eckler's out. And I think that even though I would like to see Eckler more involved in the offense, I think they'll gradually kind of phase him out. A couple years ago, he was a really good player, and the Chargers really misused him. This a guy who should have been a slot receiver in the NFL, and they tried to use him tackle to tackle, just really beat him up, and it's a shame because there's so much talent that I really think was wasted. I think Washington saw the potential, got him into training camp, and just saw that he's just doesn't have it anymore. I mean, you don't use a guy like that on special teams if you really think he's a viable offensive weapon. I like Singletary this week. I don't know if you really. I'm leaning. I'm kind of leaning against it because I think Eckler could be a guy that they're just not going to use. Now, if Eckler comes back after this week and they get him involved in that offense, which could be a lot of fun, they use him more as a slot receiver. You could get a guy that when he comes back for the rest of the season, he could have like 60, 70 catches, some big games. Singletary, though, is a starting running back who can catch passes. I've always said the same thing. I've always liked Devin Singletary. The only issue I have with Singletary is he's never going to be that guy who just goes, 50, 60 yards, for a touchdown. He's not that home run threat. So, but I do want to tell you something because I'm looking at these comments here. This is for this. Okay, I'm sorry. I will say this. You got a legitimate number 1 receiver in DJ Moore. I need to know a little more information. Is Singletary rotten on your bench? Like do you have Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall? I mean, I need a little more information. But you traded a good running back for a potential number 1 receiver. Eckler has just been disappointing so far. So I can't really answer that. I need a little more. If you don't mind, give me a little more information. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, but I'll be back with hour 3 of Afternoon Delight, so stay tuned. As I take a quick commercial break to fix my hair, just a reminder, my award-winning NFL Weekly Picks video is out. If you haven't watched it already, make sure you do it. Not now. This is only a commercial. We still have more Afternoon Delight to give you, but do check out my NFL Weekly Picks video. It's awesome! Dan Talks Football is a proud affiliate of BetUS. You can get up to 125% bonus as featured, or do what I did and take a 20% bonus up to $2,500. I made a video where I show you my first $100 deposit, and thanks to the extra 20%, it turned into $120 instantly. This promotion isn't just for 1 or 2, but your first 3 deposits. Click on the link in the description and start winning today. Keaton from Keaton Talk Sports joins Afternoon Delight every Monday. He has a great YouTube channel, and his channel is listed in the description below. We do have a problem though. We want to create a friendly wager on who picks more winners in our weekly picks videos. Can you help us out? What should Keaton do when I pick more winners than he does? Drop a comment here or in the weekly picks videos. Now, back for some more Afternoon Delight. All right, yes. All right, 2 hours down, 1 to go. Let's end on a good note. Alec, it was funny because I saw this and I saw these comments. I thought these guys are telling you no, but it's to this. If you don't mind, send me a little more information on your team. If you're in desperate need of a receiver, and then yes, I like Singletary, and I think Singletary could have a good game this week. So I need a little more information. I honestly kind of could see this as a push. If you're in need for a running back, then or if you don't need a running back, then you won this trade. I will say this: Eckler being out and with his limited touches and using him on special teams, it's almost a throwaway. But if you get some production out of Eckler, which they were hoping at the beginning of the season that he would be a bigger part of this offense, and you could have something really good here. This could be awesome depending on Eckler's use and if you need a receiver or not. Guy Harper, should I trade Joe Mixon for Deontay Johnson? This is where you're getting the nose from. I haven't had a chance to check Mixon's status. Deontay Johnson looks like he could be a great option. You don't really know what you're getting in Carolina. I personally think that Andy Dalton will turn around the offense, and I think he'll turn Deontay Johnson around. I was adamant that I was not super high on the Mixon trade for Houston because he has some age. It looks like he lost a step. Then he had that great week 1 performance. I think he's out. I'm gonna know a little more as the week goes on. I'm hoping tomorrow's show I can get caught up on all the injury report. He's listed as questionable. I will say this: if he plays and continues to play, I'm not a fan of getting rid of a running back number 1, even though I am not that high on Mixon. Deontay Johnson, if he continues to have those type of games, what was it, 122 and a touchdown? Deontay Johnson's one dude though that he's not a guy I don't think is going to get like 10 to 12 touchdowns. He's always been a guy that, like, more of a yardage guy, not as many touchdowns. I'm not a fan of getting rid of a starting running back over a receiver who traditionally has been like a 2 or a 3, but I'm leaning towards no. Are you in desperate need of a receiver, and is your running back room stacked? those are two things I'm wondering, because if you're like, if you got Saquon Barkley, Breece Hall, James Cook, and Mixon's riding your bench, and you've got, maybe like Debo, Cooper Kupp on as your receivers, I can understand the logic. I would really like to hold off. I wouldn't recommend doing it right now, but and the chat doesn't like it. I would hold off, because if Carolina this against Cincinnati, a bad defense, and Deontay Johnson has something like 5 catches, 30 yards, you're going to go, sure, I'm glad I didn't get rid of a running back who may or may not be starting on your team. Leaning towards no. Can I get some more information though about your team? Yeah, Andrews is being phased out in Baltimore for Isaiah Likely. They are also playing, I think, that Kohler kid, and age just caught up with Kelsey. He turns 35 next week. Keep in mind, I do want to say this, like, Kelsey traditionally has done really, really, really well in LA. Like, he's had a couple of 3 touchdown performances in LA over the last couple of years. You can look this up for yourself. I mean, if you don't believe me, like Kelsey, he's had like more success in LA than like in any other stadium over here. He had that. It was two or 3 years ago. He had that 3 touchdown performance. No, okay, it was 2 years ago. He had a 3 touchdown performance, if I remember right. And then the year before that, it was a 2 touchdown performance. But he had that crazy catch and run touchdown. He broke like 6 tackles and scored the winning touchdown in overtime. It was just lights out. If you watch my the intro to my Chiefs live stream, that's the play where I show at the very beginning where Kelsey's breaking like 3 or 4 tackles. Derwin James is out, which is a good thing for Kelsey. I mean, keep in mind, Rashee Rice is now the number 1 option in Kansas City. Kelsey's relegated to 2, could go down to 3 or 4, but Kelsey this week, somebody asked about Kelsey or Ertz. Logic tells me Ertz, but as the Chiefs fan in me tells me Kelsey. So, oh, this is a good one. Bowers or Ferguson? I like guys on prime time. It's a little more fun. I get that. I want to emphasize, like, Bowers against a really tough Browns defense. I'm kind of, I know my gut reaction is just to tell you Bowers, because I think you have a lot more upside. But the one thing I want to point out is that you got a really tough Cleveland defense. Now, I just got done talking about how much I like the front 7 in Dallas, or I'm sorry, in New York. The front 7's brutal. Don't get me wrong, but listen, you're on prime time, and they got some youth in the secondary, and you have a team that's going to throw the ball quite a bit. I'll be honest, this is a good situation. You've heard me say this before. It's kind of, what flavor do you like better, chocolate or strawberry? This week, I'm leaning towards Ferguson, just because that Cleveland defense is no joke, man. I know the offense is banged up and there's all sorts of problems, but God, that defense is really, really, really good. It's really, really, really good. And they got multiple dudes, like at safety. JOK has I think they call him a linebacker. He does a little bit of everything. No, I don't have a lot of faith in Gardner Minshew. Let's be honest. Which quarterback is better? All right. Which team's more of a passing offense? That's why I'd lean towards Ferguson. Like, if I was drafting going forward, probably like after this week, I might give you Bowers most of the time. But for this week, Ferguson, I put him in for Thursday Night Football, and he gets you a touchdown. So that would be what I would do. Craig, what's up, brother? Man, thanks for the help. I heard from Niners, Debo's starting on practice, and Kittle too, but I don't think they're ready. But yeah, both those guys. Not this week against New England, but going forward, you may get both those guys back, and then you're going to be in good shape. Perry, yes, and it's going to start with T. Higgins, who they can't sign him anyway. And there's going to be a team that's going to want to get T. Higgins. I can't wait for Keaton Talk Sports to come on, but a guy like, a team like New England may be interested in getting him on. To be honest with you, if they can't, T. Higgins in a place like LA or maybe even San Francisco with the injuries at receiver makes a lot of sense. Trey Hendrickson's a guy that they, can't get a deal worked out. And you mentioned Detroit. If I was Cincinnati, I would. And the reason why is that this is a good defensive draft. You also have Myles Murphy coming back in a few weeks. They used the first round pick on Myles Murphy. This is a guy that I 100% believe is going to be a stud. So if the Bengals go 0-4 in that AFC North, by the way, I know they're on the road, but of all the games this week, the one that I like the best, and the line per ESPN's at 1.5, which is still, I think, a low number, is if you're on a bet on football, take Pittsburgh over the Colts. That to me is a no-brainer. You have a good defense against a struggling offense. You have a team that wants to run the ball and can run the ball against a team that can't stop the run. I mean, this is a no-brainer. I didn't put action on it. I was leaning towards it. And then I said, well, why is the line at 1 and what am I missing? I don't think I'm missing anything. So at the end of this week, if the Bengals lose, they could be 0-4. The Steelers could be 4-0. I don't care if Baltimore's 1-3 or 2-2. They're still 1 or 2 games, and they're still a better team right now. Cleveland, 1-2 or 1-3 or 2-2 are still 1 game up, and they're not a bad team either. I mean, look, listen, if you're Cincinnati, you're going into this, you circled Kansas City. You had a chance. You didn't get it done. Okay. New England, Washington, Carolina, these are winnable games. If you're 0-4, is it impossible? No. Is it unlikely? Yes. In that division. Yeah, I would. Number one, you move Hendrickson, you got Myles Murphy who's going to come back. I think Myles Murphy's out 6 to 8 weeks. And this was at the beginning of the year. So if you move, you would keep Hendrickson till the trade deadline, and then Murphy replaces him. You want to build him up. By the way, Myles Murphy has tons of upside. You get rid of T. Higgins. Well, you weren't signing him, and you got to replace him in anyway. It's not that big of a loss. But you want to get that extra draft capital because there's some good defensive players in this draft. This is a defensive-heavy draft. That Bengals defense, it's really weird because Lou Anarumo is a phenomenal defensive coach. He does a great job against my Chiefs. But yeah, I would absolutely do it because if you get rid of Higgins and Hendrickson, you're getting draft capital and you got your replacements ready to go. And a lot of people are going to say, well, why not do the draft compensation? Because you may get more at the trade deadline for teams that need guys. What's the one thing that all NFL teams need? A pass rusher, and Hendrickson's a really good one. I mean, you could use him as a 1-year rental, or try to sign him long term. By the way, Trey Hendrickson is a 1-year rental in Detroit. I wouldn't blame the Lions if they did that, but I would be mad at the Lions giving up all that draft capital. Because they have like very little draft capital in 2025. Yeah. By the way, the Raiders will never get. I believe I'm here in Vegas. I'm telling you right now, Max Crosby is not for sale. But I could see the Raiders moving on from Devontae Adams. Where Eagle 20178. Cool name. Who should I start? Pick 2 wide receiver in the flex. Marvin Harrison Jr. I like that. I'm a level with you right now. Oh God, wait a minute. You have some other. Okay, Marvin Harrison Jr. I would start. I like the matchup against a bad Washington Commanders defense. Start him. Shakir, Hubbard, McLaren, JSN, and Tyreek. Okay, this is a little tougher than I thought because I want to tell you to start Hubbard. This is tough because I'm going to give you my answer, and I can make an argument that I'm wrong, but I think Marvin Harrison Jr. Washington's secondary is not good. They look what they did to Chase and Burrow, and I could see something very similar. So Marvin Harrison Jr. You need this is Marvin Harrison Jr. for me would be the guy. I like. I'm assuming it's a PPR league. If it's not a PPR league, then don't Hubbard. I think Hubbard's going to have a good game again. He had a monster game last week. The Bengals defense has been struggling. I think Hubbard's a good pick. All right. Here's the option that's tough. And I'm going to give you the answer that could really suck and it could blow up in your face, but I would, after taking Marvin Harrison Jr. and taking Hubbard, I would go with the guy with the most upside, and that's Tyreek Hill. I don't think you have a wrong answer here. If you went with Shakir against Baltimore, I get that, but what's the maximum he's getting? Maximum. Probably 70 yards and a touchdown. Okay. McLaren, 100 yards and a touchdown last week. There's no Austin Eckler. If I'm Arizona, you have a defensive-minded head coach, I'm probably triple teaming McLaren. Okay. Jackson Smith and Jigba kind of like that matchup against a secondary that's kind of struggled in Detroit. Kenneth Walker's playing. You have DK Metcalf. Yeah, you have Tyler Lockett. Like the talent's there for JSN to just, be an absolute stud. Look, I mean, Tyreek Hill, I really think that they're going to force feed him the ball on Monday night. It's Monday night. It's a home game in Miami. You have a backup quarterback, but you got a guy that they can use in the secondary. I would go MH. I would go Marvin Harrison Jr. I would go Hubbard. I would go Tyreek. If you want to get rid of Tyreek and start Shakir, McLaren, and JSN, I would not blame you at all. Would not blame you at all. This could be the week that they just give Tyreek Hill about 10 to 15 touches, and if he just gets the ball in his hands, he's a threat to score. So that's what I would do. Start Waddle, Aduze, or Brian Thomas Jr. in PPR. Wow, that's a tough one. Same issue I had with Tyreek Hill. I could go with Waddle because every time I watch the Dolphins play, I'm always impressed with how much I like Waddle. I would lean against Oduze. I know he had a big week last week. I know the Rams gave up some points and yards. Giving up points and yards to San Francisco offense and giving up points and yards to the Bears offense is a little different. This may be the worst option. It could blow up in your face, but I would go with Brian Thomas Jr. And the reason why I say that is that I know Houston does have a pretty good defense. You're 0-3. You got to turn things around. I think that you have to give Brian Thomas some opportunities. I mean, and look, you have a backup quarterback in Miami. I know fantasy wise he played well last week, but Caleb Williams is, I mean, he has some issues. So let's be honest. And one thing about the Rams is, like them or hate them, I mean, they're a well-coached team. That's a well-coached team. I have a feeling that they're going to kind of confuse Caleb Williams. And I as much as I love Aduze is a guy just like major man crush on. I mean, I'll be honest. This is I can if I wanted to, I can argue Waddle, I can argue Oduze, I would argue Brian Thomas Jr., I could argue all three. I'm leaning towards Brian Thomas Jr. because I think out of all three of these guys, he's the one that's most likely. I could see Jacksonville just saying, look, let's just throw a couple 50-50 balls. Take the 6'4" guy with deep speed. And you're going to say, Dan, why don't they do that with Oduze? As bad of a season as Trevor Lawrence is having, which one would you want throwing jump balls to, Caleb Williams or Trevor Lawrence? Now, if you sit here and you're like, well, I have more confidence in Caleb Williams than going with Oduze. I think that Trevor Lawrence is probably thinking, you know what, this may be the week I need to grip it and rip it because I may get benched. My coach may get fired. Let's go to town. Let's have some fun. I personally, if I was Chicago, I would say, look, I got a rookie quarterback. I got an offensive line struggling. Let's why not run the damn ball a little more? But and keep in mind one thing about Waddle. Same thing I said with Tyreek Hill. If Waddle gets 5 to 10 touches, he's a threat to score. I mean, he really is. Even though I don't like the Titans team, I love their defense. I mean, that's a good defense. It really is. And you also have a backup quarterback. Actually, to tell you the truth, I'm on ESPN. I'm looking at the homepage. Homepage of ESPN, Finns McDaniel not ready to tab quarterback number 1 for Monday Night Football. Okay. You just heard me saying I would start Tyreek Hill. I would. Waddle, on the other hand, I don't know about. I'm going Brian Thomas Jr. here. That's a tough one. Yeah, there's no way you're getting Crosby. Hendrickson is possible. 100% possible, actually. The Raiders absolutely are not trade. The Raiders would trade every other player on that team before they trade Crosby. Denver Gator! Singletary was a flex. Okay. Oh, yeah. GT and Henry. Yeah. You're this is smart because Ayok's struggling until he get him into the offense. Same with Amari Cooper. So now you have DJ Moore. AJ Brown's not playing this. Yes, I like it. I like it. Okay, yeah. And you at the best. I like it. Keep in mind, remember I was saying earlier about Jonathan Taylor having injury issues. Derrick Henry is a guy that's not going to catch a lot of balls. Keep in mind, if both Henry and JT stay healthy, those are your starters. With AJ Brown and Ayuk being, some issues, DJ Moore and Amari Cooper. By the way, I don't think AJ Brown's playing this week. I'm gonna go to the Eagles site here. I'm pretty sure AJ Brown didn't practice 1 hour ago. I would start DJ Moore over AJ Brown. AJ Brown I don't think is going to play. Keep an eye out on that. No, Eckler is not. You are aware Eckler's not going to play, and AJ Brown's probably not going to play. So, trade received full PPR, giving Breece Hall. Ooh, God. Ugh. Oh God, you're giving away some good players. Breece Hall, Laporta, and Evans getting. Ooh, wow. CD Lamb, Etienne, and Pitts. Oh God! Oh man, Zig Mover, what a fantastic question! And I've been saying this over and over and over again. It's kind of like, what flavor do you like? Like chocolate or strawberry. Let me break this down. Okay, so first of all, I like Breece Hall quite a bit, and I love the way they're using him in New York. Even though things look bad in Jacksonville, ETN's been productive. All right, Hall over ETN, but not like it's not a huge gap. Fantasy wise, it's really not that bad. Laporta over Pitts, even though Laporta's been struggling, I cannot figure out why Pitts doesn't get more touches. I don't understand it, because Pitts in an offense like Kansas City would be a no-brainer, option. Like, you put Pitts in an offense that knows how to use them. This is massive upside. But let's be very clear. ETN and Pitts are, in my opinion, lower than Hall and Laporta. Here's where you win. You get CeeDee Lamb in a super pass-happy offense, and he's every week, going to get you, 15 to 25 points every single week. Evans is solid. He'll have 1,000 yards and 8 to 10 touchdowns. But I mean, CeeDee Lamb has that potential to get you that that 30-35 point week. I mean, this is, by the way, an excellent opportunity on Thursday night. I wouldn't be surprised if CeeDee Lamb just tears it up. I'm gonna level with you, man. I'm leaning against it. I'm leaning against it, and I want to take a look here at Laporta. Laporta's banged up. Didn't practice. 8 catches, 94 yards, no touchdowns. He may not play Monday night. The thing is with Kyle Pitts, it just drives me nuts, is that he's not 8 catches, 105 and a touchdown last week against Kansas City, that 50-yard catch. But I mean, here's a guy who's 6'6", 240, runs a 4.4, and he has 7 career touchdowns in 3 years. Now, he had an injury-riddled year, but I'm sorry, against Kansas City, 2 catches, 59 yards. You want to argue he should have had pass interference. And by the way, it was 26 yards, 20 and 59 last week. But I just loved Kyle Pitts so much coming out of college, and they just don't use the guy. I'm going to lean against this trade. And I'll tell you why. Even if Laporta doesn't play, if he didn't practice, it's hard to say. It really is. But even if Laporta doesn't play on Monday night, I mean, even though Pitts' upside is absolutely insane. I mean, his upside is crazy high. They don't use him. Mike Evans is a guy it's consistent. You have a defensive-minded coach. You have a good defense. But one thing about Mike Evans is that every single year he's been in the NFL, he's had over 1,000 yards. It's like 10 seasons over 1,000 yards. Probably make it 11 or 12 or whatever it is. And Breece Hall, I like a little more in ETN, even though I think ETN's solid. I really do. I think ETN, especially in fantasy, is really solid. So I'm leaning against. I need a little more information, though, about your roster. Can you send me some more information on your roster? Because if you got a couple running backs that are studs and you're hurting at receiver, make it. But I mean, here's what you're going at. You're taking a Hall's better than ETN. All right. Laporta's better than Pitts, but you're getting an uptick on CeeDee Lamb over Evans. So without having any other detail, you're downgrading 2 positions, but you're getting I mean, I'll be honest with you, like CeeDee Lamb, like That's probably my number one. Him and Justin Jefferson, or him, Justin Jefferson, and actually him and Justin Jefferson, probably one and two. Jamar Chase, I may put up there as well. But I mean, those are three guys every single week, wide receiver number one, no matter what. Evans isn't never going to be that dude. Laporta could be tight end number one. I might have said he was tight end number one going into the season, banged up. The Ben Johnson offense looks like it's been kind of figured out. But Breece Hall's a dude that I love. I like ETN a lot. I don't think you're getting too much of a downtick. I think both are solid starters. Like if you start ETN instead of Hall, you're not like losing 15, 20 points every week. So I need a little more information. I'm leaning towards no. So what the deal is, Funk, is Henderson wants a new deal. And Cincinnati said no. So he was going to hold out. Then he reported he had 2 sacks against Kansas City. But the one thing I'm going to tell you about Hendrickson is that it doesn't look like he's as interested. You heard the Antonio Pearson business decisions. It looks like Henderson's making some business decisions out on the field. He wants a new deal. If you trade for him, will he play for 2024? Sure. He's probably not going to play in 2025 unless he gets that new deal. For Detroit, that's a bad move because whatever you give Hendrickson, Aiden Hutchinson's going to want significantly more, maybe even double. So, Denver Gator, what are your thoughts on tonight's game? Yeah. Crosby is not trade. The Raiders will get rid of everybody else before they get rid of Crosby. They love that dude. Denver Gator, I can answer this for Denver Gator. I don't know about Funk, but Denver Gator is Shadir Sanders. Hendrickson's been in the league for a while. He's not just he played 4 years with the Saints, and then I think this is year 3. I'd have to look it up to be sure, but I want to make sure I answer all the questions. But I mean, they came out almost the same time. Said almost. At Funkwood, Henderson's trade value, could we get him for a third or package JMO in Houston, or Houston in a 4th or a 5th round pick? I'll be honest with you. They probably wouldn't want a receiver, and they probably wouldn't want Houston. They would probably want a very high draft pick, and I'm thinking at least a third. And by the way, do you have a third? Didn't you give up a third in this year's draft? So, Bowers versus this is a good one. What was it? Bowers on Ferguson. Yeah, that's not a cookie cutter definite. I'm leaning towards Ferguson, but I don't hate that. I don't know why people would want to trade JMO, but Houston, a few mid-round picks should get done if they're blowing up in Cincinnati. I can tell you this, if Cincinnati does blow it up, they want draft capital because this is a defensive-heavy draft and an offensive line-heavy draft, so they're going to want high draft picks. I think with Hendrickson, I think for Hendrickson, you're looking at a minimum of a third. T. Higgins, they may take like a little less because people, it's been kind of well documented that he's not going to be around. Plus, he had that injury issue. So, yeah, Perry's been saying this for a while. Yeah, somebody dropped Tank Dell in my league, and would you pick him up and drop Roma Duze? I'm leaning no, and the reason why I'd say no is that I know Keenan Allen's been a little banged up. I get why you would want to do it. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, just as a player, just as a player, Roma Duze is much better. But I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing it. I just checked out the injury report. Appears unlikely to play Sunday. All right. I understand because the quarterback situation is so much better in Houston than it is in Chicago. I get why you would do that. I'm double checking here because Keenan Allen is still questionable. He did practice on limited basis per ESPN a couple hours ago. And then I didn't know this. Roma Duze limited capacity due to a hip injury. Much more likely a Duze will play than Tank Dell. I would not advise this at all because the reason why is that when you have a guy like Roma Duze, like there's so much higher of a ceiling. Tank Dell, but what's the best that you're getting? If you, I wouldn't recommend it. I really wouldn't recommend it. Would I drop Austin Eckler for Rico Dowdle? Okay. Austin Eckler's not playing next week, and you have no idea going forward what's going to happen. I could see a situation where they just kind of phase Eckler out completely. I have no idea why Dalvin Cook's not elevated, and I know they'd rather have Ezekiel Elliott get some touches over Dowdle. Are you in a situation where you need points this week, and is your running back situation bad? Because you may be able. I always like guys on primetime games. It's just the thing is with Dowdle going against that Giants front seven, that's not a good situation. I'm guessing you have no interest in starting Dowdle tonight. The only way I would make this move is if you're just like dead set on Dowdle scoring tonight, which I'm not. And you're doing it just for this week, and then you're gonna try to go on. I would say no, because I do see a situation where they could phase Austin Eckler out. I also think that when he comes back, he'll be a nice option in PPR, and he'll be kind of a 1-2 combination with Brian Thomas Jr. There's a lot of questions there because I don't know how they're planning on using Eckler. I don't think this is a good matchup for Thursday night for Dowdle, and sooner or later they really got to replace the dude. So, excuse me. Oh, this is a good one. AK Hall, Kamara, Etienne, Ford. My wide receivers are London, Rice, Neighbors, Godwin. My tight end, Bowers and Godwin. What would you recommend me to give up for Tyreek? Oh, wow. The guy probably wouldn't take a package deal that includes so I'm a level with you. Like I would see if you can maybe get like some garbage, and this is what I would throw out there. Ford, London, and Bowers, and if he countered with Goddard, you're like, gotcha. Because Ford could potentially have some value. Keep in mind, I firmly believe that once Nick Chubb comes back, he's going to do nothing. I know what you're thinking. Like, I know you've been wanting to trade ETN, so you're thinking, hey, can I get rid of ETN and ETN in London? Maybe grab Tyreek. Bottom line is, I'll level with you. Like, with Rice and Neighbors, I'm not sure I would try to make a move for Tyreek because in a PPR league I always want three down running backs. If you're I know you've been wanting to trade ETN. And I could see why you'd want to give him up. Let me throw out something just crazy, because I think with Eric McCoy being injured on the Saints offensive line, I can see a situation where Kamara's production goes down. Keep in mind, I would not recommend this at all, because you're going to lose Ford. I mean, when once Chubb comes back, Ford's almost useless. So I'm looking at your receivers, and you got Rice and Neighbors as your ones, and then you have some really solid guys in London and Godwin. I think your thought process is better when you were thinking of trying to add another stud running back, where you're trying to get Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley. I would not try to make a move for Tyreek Hill. In the way you have everything set up, I would try to make a move. The move that you had that made the most sense, if I remember correctly, was ETN in London for Jonathan Taylor. That would be the move. Your receiving core, I really wouldn't touch it, because you have a shaky situation in Miami. If you think that either Rice or Neighbors may decline and you're wanting to upgrade at if you want Tyreek Hill, which is risky because of the quarterback situation, you could do something like that. I wouldn't recommend trying to get Tyreek Hill. I like the trades that you're thinking about earlier, trying to get either Barkley or Jonathan Taylor. Keep in mind, I think ETN's a very good 3-down back who, despite the Jags' performance offensively, he's not been doing bad. I mean, there's room for improvement, but I wouldn't recommend going after Tyreek Hill at all with your current receiving core, and that the fact that you need a running back to replace Ford after next week. Noah Bonecutter. What a cool name, man. Start 3, Evans, Rice, Flowers, Higgins, Aduze, Shakir. Okay, I mean, Rice, no-brainer. After Rice, you got some questions, okay? So let's start 2. Leaning towards Evans. The matchup against Philly, Slay's been on downward spiral. You also have a rookie on the other side. I like a veteran against a rookie. After that, it's a tough one. I'd slight edge towards Flowers, who I think might have the most upside. One thing, though, about Baltimore and Buffalo, I watched my picks video. I have in the description below if you don't mind, if you haven't already. I picked Baltimore, full disclosure. I could see a situation where Flowers, they try to get Flowers in the open field to try to loosen up Derrick Henry. And I could see Flowers maybe getting a little more production. This could be a big week for Higgins. Shakir, I think, is kind of quietly turning into the number one option in Buffalo. We were talking earlier about Aduze. I just noticed he was a little banged up. I fully expect him to play, but the quarterback situation in Chicago, I know he had over 100 yards last week. I'm not seeing that this week, even though the Rams gave up some, passing yards to Purdy. The San Francisco offense and the Bears offense, two different things. Rice is a no-brainer. I would go Evans, leaning towards Flowers, but I can make a strong argument. If I wanted to, I could make a strong argument for Flowers, Higgins, Aduze, and Shakir. I can make a strong case for all 4 of those. I think Rice is 1, Evans is 2. your other one, pick your poison. But I like Flowers. I think that this is the week that, like, hey, look, in order to beat Buffalo and their high-powered offense, Derrick Henry has to have a good game. What do we do to have Derrick Henry have a good game? We need to go up top, or we get Flowers like on slip screen, get him some open field. Like, I got a feeling that's kind of the way I look at it, because in order for Baltimore to beat Buffalo, they have to put some points on the board. I don't see them putting points on the board and Flowers doing nothing. Same argument can be made with Shakir, but the thing is, though, Buffalo can do other things besides Shakir. I know that they have Derrick Henry. I know Lamar Jackson can run, but I really don't see Baltimore putting up more than 27 without Flowers doing something. And I think you need something like that for Baltimore to beat Buffalo. Oh yeah, I got this one. Yeah, I would not, unless it's a desperate start on Thursday and you're convinced Dowdle's going to score, which I'm not. So I would not. No, Miami doesn't have a quarterback. I'm not. I don't like this situation. No, I don't like the situation. I do think that you could start Tyreek Hill. As much as I like Waddle, I keep in mind Tennessee, for all their offensive woes, as a good defense. So, ooh, should I trade for CMC? They want Bajan. It'll give me CMC and Rashad White. Okay, bang and play, great name. I want to throw some things out. CMC supposedly is seeing a specialist in Germany. That's not a good sign. Rashad White's a guy I really, really, really like. By the way, but John Robinson's one of the guys there's not too many guys I would start over John Robinson. If your running back core is solid, I mean, really solid, and you can by the way, like, Rashad White is a tier below John Robinson, but you're still getting points every week, and definitely if it's PPR league, you're getting points every single week with Rashad White. My gut reaction is no. Because when CMC, look, you don't go to Germany to see a specialist if you think you're going to be back in 2 weeks. And you are getting a downtick in a player. But keep in mind, let's just say you're 3-0 and you got some good running backs, and you're just kind of want to stash somebody for the hopes of hitting a home run. I never blame anybody for taking some chances, especially in fantasy football. Rashad White's a guy I like. I know that Bucky Irvin's getting some more touches and everything. I don't think that trend's going to continue. I don't see Bucky Irving, I'm sorry, really taking over. I think it's one of those things where he's a rookie, but in close games, I think they'll go with White. Leaning against it, I'm leaning against it, but if you want to take a swing for the fences, but keep in mind, when you travel to Germany to see a specialist, that's usually not a sign that you're coming back in 2 weeks. So, Miami called Hooker, and on Wednesdays they said they're not trading for a quarterback. Hendon Hooker makes so much sense. Makes so much sense in that offense. They seriously, instead of giving Tua all that money, they should have given up a second for Hendon Hooker. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what they should have done. Hindsight's always 20/20. Oh yeah. Chris Shula is that? I think yeah. His dad was Mike Shula. His granddad was Don Shula. Don Shula won a few games in the NFL. Yeah. He's going to be a future head coach. Aiden says you're hot. Yes. I'm guessing Holmes wanted too much in return. Yeah, probably a 2, and in hindsight, should have got it. Folks, listen, final 10 minutes. If I don't get all your questions, drop a comment below. I will get it, but I won't get it till after Thursday night football. That's negative. I will answer all the questions. I just won't get it till after Thursday night football. I'm going to rapid fire through as many as I can, but there's only 10 minutes left. Zeke is done for the Cowboys. I'm on speaker. Yes. Oh, I love it. Knicks, Fields, Gino, pick 2. Thanks and be blessed. Bears 1985. Fantastic. Oh God, that's a tough one. Okay, Gino, definitely, even though they're going to run the ball a little more. Your question is Fields or Knicks. I'm leaning towards Fields. Knicks against the Jets defense. You're not doing it. Thanks, brother. Yeah, but dealing with that, I think he's going to play even though he didn't practice. Falcons need a new offensive coordinator. They got the guy from the Rams. They have to figure some things out. If things continue like this, they will replace him. That's not a question. That way too much talent on that team. So, oh man, I got Rhino's Roundtable. What's up, brother? Rhino, a little love for Rhino here. Oh, dude, I love Pitts coming out of college. Jose, what's your username? Cutest delivery driver. Oh man, I got some love there. Need some help. McBride isn't going to play. He's not going to play. I actually did not know McBride was out. I should have. I did not know that. I really did not know that McBride is out. Okay, so here's the deal. This is ESPN, not the best source. McBride wasn't spotted part of Thursday's practice. Questionable. Okay. Not out. Keep an eye out on this, but yeah. Who should I package 2 for 1? You need to pick up a tight end, but my bench is really good. Who should package 2 for 1? You got Hunt, Coop, Deontay, Terry, Thomas, Worthy, Chubb's IR. Okay, you want to keep Chubb, absolutely. Keep Deontay, absolutely. Cooper Kupp, absolutely. God, I would try to package a deal. Xavier Worthy, you have to find a Chiefs fan. Thomas. I'm drawing a blank on who Thomas is. I really don't want to tell you get rid of any of these guys. Because you got some guys in Hunt could be a stud for the next couple of weeks. You got some questions. Cooper Kupp 1. Deontay Thompson, you have no idea how good he could be. Oh, Terry McLaurin. Thomas, I'm drawing a blank on. I would try to make a deal with Worthy, and depending on who Thomas is. I'm drawing a complete blank on right now. By the way, I know he had the concussion, not officially ruled out, so keep an eye. Zig Mover, Jaden Daniels, Hall, Connors, Ramondre, Charbonnet, Steele, Braylon Allen, Bucky, wide receiver Harrison Jr., Evans, J-Mo, Mooney. Oh, okay, this is the question that you had earlier. Where is it? Asked for a little more detail. You provided it. Okay, hold on here. I have to find it. This is one of the things about having a one man. Okay. I'm going to help you out here. Okay. Running back Hall, Connor, Ramondre, Charbonnet, Steele, Braylon Allen, Bucky. Okay. Yeah. In this situation, I don't really like it, and I'll tell you why. Connors is going to be phased out. Charbonnet probably isn't going to play. Steele with Kareem Hunt's not going to play. Braylon Allen's a number 2 right now. You really don't want to give up. I'd say that, and then you got Marvin Harrison Jr. and Evans, but you only got Jamison Williams. You have Tucker Kraft. I'll be honest. I mean, Tucker Kraft may be the guy you want to start this week. And by the way, Tucker Kraft, that's a good option, man. The problem is you got some guys in Charbonnet and Steele that really aren't going to play much. Connors is getting I think he's going to get phased out. Braylon Allen is kind of a flex low end option. And I'm not convinced on Bucky Irvin. I'm still going to stay that I get why, because you don't. Harrison Jr. is, I think, going to have a good game. Evans is solid, but you need some help because, they're not using Mooney right. And they're phasing out Jameson Williams or whatever. I have to admit, I like the trade a little more because I like Tucker Kraft quite a bit. I wouldn't do it because I think Hall's a better option than Etienne. But I have to admit, moving on from Laporta, you put Pitts in, but you still start Kraft, who I think is going to start getting more and more and more touches once Love comes back. So I like it a little more. I still would hold off. By the way, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., you want to start against a really, really bad Washington team. If you're dead set on making this trade, can you at least hold off to this week? Because Marvin Harrison Jr. could have. Did you see what Jamar Chase did? Marvin Harrison Jr. could put up similar numbers. So don't do it this week. But if you can, hold off, please. Hold off this week. Let Marvin Harrison Jr. blow up, and then come back. But I wouldn't do it this week. I got choose 3 for this week: Henry, Cooks, Mason, Singletary. Oh, okay. When you say Cooks, are you talking Braden Cooks, the Dallas receiver, or James Cook, the running back? Because you're throwing running backs. I'm assuming it's James Cook. James Cook, Buffalo running back, you have to start him. I like Singletary, and I would go with Derrick Henry. Clarify if that's. I'm assuming it's James Cook. So I'm running out of time here. Dan, what your Falcons do? They lose to the Saints Sunday. Should I start panicking? No. You still got to wait. Dominoes. So he wants to buy me Dominoes. Make Dan Grady. I would take a chance on Shakir. I don't blame you. Yes. Dottle, Steelers, and Amir White. None are good options. I really don't want to tell you either one of these guys. As a Chiefs fan, I'm leaning towards Steele because I could see a touchdown. But here's the deal: that defense is much improved with the Chargers. I mean, you got 3 running backs going against 3 really good defenses. I don't like either of them, to be honest with you. If I had to pick one, maybe Dowdle, because it's a primetime game. I don't like either one of them. Yeah, I figured. Cook's the guy you definitely want to play. You can get a little creative with the rest of them, but Cooks is definitely one. I would go with Henry and Singletary personally. That's Mason against a very, very tough, underrated New England defense. Remember, they're coming off that Thursday game, so they have some time. If I was to trade A-Chain for Neighbors, yes, trade A-Chain and get Neighbors. Yes, do it now. Do it tonight and start Neighbors. Absolutely. I'll be looking to trade Tay Adams and a bench player for an RB if I were to do the A-Chain trade. Yes, trade A-Chain. Do it tonight. Start Neighbors tonight. Yes, please, Jordan, please do this move. Do me a favor. I have to end the show, so I'm going to end on this. One more question by Ray Gamer. Do this move. Start Neighbors tonight. Hit me up tomorrow, and hopefully you got 25 points. If Neighbors bombs, hit me up and yell at me. Do this move. Start Neighbors tonight. This is a must do. Please, do this for me. Do this for me. Trade for Neighbors. Start Neighbors tonight, and hit me up Friday and let me know how it worked. Jordan, please hit me up tomorrow. Let me know how you do. And I hope you got about 30 points tonight. I think you're going to. Final question. Pick one defense start. Texans defense versus Jags, Saints versus Falcons, Vikings defense versus Packers, or Cowboys defense versus Giants. You got some really great options. Really great options. I'm going to level with you, even though the quarterback situation is up for grabs. It looks like it looks like Malik Willis will start. I don't know this for a fact. You're not wrong if you want to go Cowboys against the Giants on Thursday night. I get that. Probably get a lot of sacks. I mean, the offensive line traditionally, but the defense hasn't been playing well. I get why you would want to do it, especially if the weather conditions are bad. Texans and Saints are good. I would really lean towards the Vikings, because out of all those teams, the Vikings are the only one that's going against a backup quarterback. So that's what I would take. Guys, that's it. By the way, I see there's one other question here. Let's see if I can think. Okay, this will have to be the last one. I came in. I see you in the chat earlier, and I know I got behind, so I'm going to do my best. I have to make this fast. If you don't mind, drop a comment below. You can also hit me up on X, Twitter, DM me on Instagram. You can also go old school, email me. Unfortunately, I won't be able to get back to any of these till after Thursday Night Football has been completed. Should I start? You got Stroud, Gibbs, Ramonde, Chase, Nico, McBride, Etienne with Daniels, Eckler, Amari Cooper, Shakir, Waddle, Ferguson, 10-man. What pieces should I move? Okay. Oh, wow. God, that's a good one. Stroud or Daniels, that's a tough one. I lean towards Stroud. You can't really go wrong. Chase, I think, is a must start. McBride could not play. Keep an eye out on that. Wait a minute, you got to play for. Okay, start Ferguson over McBride. Questionable about McBride. Don't take any chances. I'm assuming those are your only two tight ends. So start Ferguson tonight. You may get lucky, get a point, get some points, maybe get a touchdown. Eckler is out, obviously. Don't want to start him. Here's your issue, is that you have some tough ones with your running backs. I would go with Gibbs Monday night. I'm not sold on Seattle's defense. I would go Etienne over Ramondre. Normally, I wouldn't do that. Ramondre in San Francisco, that's kind of tough. San Francisco's coming off a loss. I think they're going to be pissed. I think that they're just going to dare a young, beat-up offensive line and Jacoby Brissett to beat them. So I could see a situation. In that situation, Etienne and Gibbs, start Ferguson, Chase and Nico. You got to. Quarterback situation's tough. I don't think you can make a mistake. I'm leaning towards Stroud. Wouldn't mind. Guys, I got to end the show. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any comments, questions, drop them in the description below. You can also message me on Instagram. You can hit me up on Twitter, X. You can go old school. Email me, dantalksfootball@yahoo.com. Have a great night. Good luck tonight, and I'll be back tomorrow for 3 more hours of afternoon delight.